Thank you for saying. Let's settle for the news now. And Attorney General Godfrey Dame says government will not relent in its efforts to weed out illegal mining and prosecute culprits. The AG spoke in court when Aisha Huang and her 4 accomplices were denied bail again by a High Court judge who said her mind had not changed on the plea of lawyers for the accused persons. It was also at the hearing that it came out that the former national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Weija-Gbawe, was representing the 4 accomplices of Aisha Huang. Kweku Asante was in court and now reports.
So it was an interesting day in court here at the High Court complex here in Accra when Attorney General Godfrey Dame led government efforts to prosecute Aisha Huang and other foreign nationals who have all been arrested for engaging in illegal mining. Today, not only the Attorney General Godfrey Dame was in court, he was here with the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu-Jinapor, who offered some moral support to his colleague Cabinet Minister in dealing with this menace that some have said the government's fight is simply a farce.
Well, they've denied it. They've denied it. I mean, if there's any substance to any such allegations, I think the best way to proceed is to conduct investigations. But, well, those are not for me to decide. I mean, I think that the matters are still out play and the minister has denied it flatly. I have full confidence in the minister in my ministry, and I don't think he will ever be involved in any such conduct. And early days yet, and his officials for this excellent work they are doing. As you may be aware, one of the key pillars on which we are seeking to deal with this issue of illegal small-scale mining is law enforcement and prosecution, particularly as it relates to foreigners. And as you can see, the Attorney General himself was in court, and he himself is conducting this trial and prosecuting this case in a very spirited and enthusiastic manner. I think it helped my work. We will continue with our efforts on all fronts, on the law enforcement, the reforms, and as well as the prosecutorial path, which we are fully committed to. As you can tell, this Aisha Huang lady, the government of President Akufo-Addo is committed to bring her and other persons who are involved in illegal mining to face the full rigors of our laws in this country.
We heard from the Attorney General who said this should send a signal to all those engaged in illegal mining that government is coming after them, and that in the particular case of Aisha Huang, they were ready to take the trial day by day and ensure that this case is disposed of expeditiously.
We indicated our readiness, preparedness to commence the trial. And in respect of Aisha Huang, we had filed most of the documents to be relied on. We had filed witness statements of 4 witnesses. We only needed to file about 4 more. And for that matter, we requested for a week. The judge, of course, in exercise of her discretion, decided to adjourn to 24th or so for us to come and conduct the case management conference. And we are ready to proceed with the trial on the case on a day-by-day basis. And the judge has also indicated the inclination to conduct the trial in that manner. So we are very happy with the progress of the matter. And I think it's very important that we indicate to the world our full commitment to prosecute all these illegal mining offenses. It's something that is of utmost importance to the nation. Yes, even though, of course, this lady found herself back into the country after her indefinite stay that had been granted in 2014 had been revoked in 2018. Yes, we'll prosecute her for both the past and current offenses. I think the most important point for me as a prosecutor is that, yes, she's still kept in custody. Of course, we would have wanted that the trial would be dealt with speedily, because a fair trial implies speed as well. And for that matter, I would have appreciated for her plea to be taken today. But it is not a major setback. We'll have her plea taken on the next agenda date. And the offense with which she's been charged will be dealt with as soon as possible. The Aisha Huang matter, we are ready to start trial, even if we are given an opportunity next week, as we indicated. The judge said we should come back to conduct what we call the case management conference on 24th. And I believe after that, we should do it on a case-by-day basis. The other matter has been adjourned to 1st November. I'm sure by that agenda date too, we'll be ready to proceed with the trial of that one as well.
One other interesting issue that came up in court is now that the other foreign nationals who are standing trial with Aisha Huang are now being represented by former national chairman of the NPP, Weija-Gbawe. When asked, the Attorney General said, well, Weija-Gbawe is a lawyer and he can take whatever case he wants to take. Lawyer for Aisha Huang, Nkrabea Ifadate, tried to make an application for bail, but the judge said if he did, he would flatly refuse, and that her mind had not changed because just a few weeks back, Nkrabea Efata made an application for bail and was denied. From the High Court complex here in Accra, my name is Kweku Asante for JoyNews.
Let's head now to the Bono East region, where headmaster of the Kintampo Senior High School, Samuel Kofi Donyina, is asking government to complete various abandoned projects in the school to address accommodation challenges. He made this call during the 50th anniversary celebrations of the school. Anas Abed has more.
Looking at the 50th anniversary of the Kintampo Senior High School, headmaster of the school, Samuel Kweku Donyina, bemoaned some key challenges bedeviling the smooth running of the school, which currently has a student population of 2,798. This includes the delay in the completion of a number of projects which, according to him, is hindering the academic performance of the school.
Dr. Chair, this great institution is saddled with a number of challenges. The present ones include delay in the completion of some GET Fund projects, including 300 capacity girls dormitory block, 2-story girls dormitory block that has been abandoned for about 10 years now, and a dining hall / kitchen complex. Poor road network and drainage system in the school, inadequate staff accommodation. Honorable Deputy Minister, out of 186 teaching and non-teaching staff, only 15 are staying on campus. That's making supervision of prep and other activities very tedious.
He, however, appealed to key stakeholders in the area to help contribute their quota towards the betterment of the school.
It is against this background that we call on all stakeholders of the school to help contribute our quota for the betterment of KIMS. Let us respectfully acknowledge the fact that no single stakeholder can fix all the challenges enumerated above. Our collective efforts and responsibility is very paramount.
Bono East Regional Minister Kwesi Edujan, on his part, charged parents to work towards channeling their finances in supporting their children's education.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends of the media, let me use this platform to advise parents whose interest is to amass wealth at the expense of their children's education to change their attitude. Child education in contemporary times is more important than bequeathing huge wealth to one's uneducated children.
Member of Parliament for Asin South and Deputy Minister for Education John Ntim Fojo, who represented the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, used the opportunity to reiterate government's commitment to promoting science, technology, engineering and mathematics education at the senior high school level.
Much as we are reforming our curriculum and reforming the various aspects of our education to reflect our 21st century tenets, we also recognize that we must do something about expanding science education. Currently in this country, only 12% of students in SHS have enrolled in science-related disciplines. And until a country transforms to 60% science and 40% humanity, our effort will not yield the optimum results we want to see. So as part of the strategic plan, we hope to achieve 60% science and 40% humanities by the year 2030.
Well, now, President of Challenging Heights, James Kofi Annan, wants government to involve the private sector in its quest to achieve its revenue target in the tourism sector. Speaking at this year's Ra Beba Festival at Winneba in the Central Region, Mr. Annan indicated what was needed in the tourism sector was for government to strengthen the tourism and cultural policies by allowing the private sector to lead the way. There's more in this report.
It has projected that it will rake in $4 billion in the tourism industry by 2024. This target, according to the president of the Challenging Heights, James Kofi Annan, could be achieved, but the role of the private sector remains crucial. James Kofi Annan believes that Ghana does not have a competitive advantage in the manufacturing industry and does not have a competitive advantage in the technology industry either. but Ghana's competitive advantages in the tourism industry, where the country's history, cultural practices and creative talent put the nation straight ahead of other countries.
We recently heard the Minister of Tourism talking about the government targets for tourism revenue. And the government is saying that they are aiming at collecting at least $4 billion in revenue from tourism by the year 2024. We believe that that is possible and that is achievable. But we believe that the government must create the enabling environment, the regulations, the policies, and to allow the private sector to lead in the tourism industry and avoid interfering in festivals. That is the only way the government can achieve its goal of $4 billion by the year 2024.
He explained what the festival means to the fishing community here at Weija-Gbawe.
We want to see this festival as one of the biggest festivals in Ghana. We know that during the cruise season, the fishermen don't have money because they don't go to work, and so they are poor. This festival is also aimed at bridging that gap. When the cruise season is on, they can derive income from this festival and be able to sell. People will be selling ice water, achumbo, kenke, all manner of things to earn income out of this festival.
The Futu Municipal Chief Executive, Zubairu Al-Hassan, commended the fisher folk here for not engaging in illegal fishing practices.
I must commend the people of Weija-Gbawe because thanks to them for the type of fishing they do, you adhere to all fishing regulations the world over. I mean, you do not do light fishing. You do not use chemicals like DDT and powered soap, mentioned to be few of the prohibited forms and processing of fishing.
Well, now, moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Right Reverend Professor Joseph Obri-Yabuamante, is asking Ghanaians to work harder to reduce some of the common causes of mental health diseases. He said this could be achieved by building more meaningful, loving, and peaceful homes and communities. The moderator was speaking at the commissioning and dedication ceremony for a new Presbyterian psychiatric hospital at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region. Correspondent Albert Sori has more.
The Upper East region is currently without a functioning psychiatric hospital. Although there are psychiatric nurses in major healthcare centers across the region, there was also not a single psychiatrist in the region until the Presbyterian Hospital appointed one in the year 2021. The situation meant that persons who were seeking treatment for some common mental disorders had to be referred to the southern parts of the country. This came with a higher cost, and those who could not afford it risked a deterioration of their mental illness. Here is a Deputy Upper East Regional Director of Health Services, Pascal Donzoing.
The Ghana Health Service don't have a psychiatrist as the Ghana Health Service in this region. It's unfortunate we don't have any special ward to admit mental health clients. And because of that, there is also inadequate information on the use and efficacy of these drugs. A lot of inconsistencies in documentation of mental health issues which we are battling with.
However, this could soon be a thing of the past, as the Presbyterian Church of Ghana has commissioned a new psychiatric hospital in Bolgatanga. The 10-bed capacity specialist psychiatric hospital comes with 2 consulting rooms, a nurses' station, nurses' changing and restrooms, washrooms, and an office for administrators. The project is a joint partnership between the Presbyterian Health Services and Friends of Boko, a Dutch group of health workers who 20 years ago took interest in the Presbyterian Hospital in the Upper East Region town of Boko and have since then been supporting the hospital in many ways.
Well, in our final story, a United Kingdom-based philanthropic organization, Operation Hernia, with support from the Ho Teaching Hospital, has provided free life-saving surgeries for over 80 hernia patients. There is more in this report as we cap off the AM News.
Partnership between Operation Hernia and the Ho Teaching Hospital to offer free hernia surgeries was suspended in 2019 due to the coronavirus pandemic. The partnership ensures that persons suffering from hernia conditions who cannot access medical care are provided free surgeries. This year's outreach was outstanding as the team from the United Kingdom, led by 2 visiting surgical consultants, operated on men, children and women from across the country. Dr. Nelson Afram is the head of the surgical sub-BMC of the Ho Teaching Hospital.
Yes, what is peculiar is that, in fact, we know what they come for. They usually come for the groin hernias. At this time, we are having 2 visiting consultants, surgical consultants, and then they are coming to do the surgeries. And what is interesting is that this time, it's not just the men only, but we are having women and then we are having children hernias. Most of them were, I would say, groin hernias, because we say it's inguinal hernias, you know. But by this time, we did some hernias in children, and then also we also did ventral hernias. Some are incisional hernias, you know. Some are epigastric hernias, you know, umbilical hernias, and all sorts of hernias. So there were a variety. And all the cases, apart from the children one, were done with mesh repair, high quality mesh. Yes.
He said males, intense manual work, old age and chronic constipation, among other factors, make one predisposed to develop a hernia. He entreated persons with hernia conditions to seek medical attention at early stages to avoid complications which may lead to death.
And the most important thing is that it comes with the complications of it. Is what is dread. You know, people die from these hernias. You know, when it become complicated, you know, and your intestines will be trapped inside, and they all get ischemic and gangrene also. So that's the danger about it. You know, something so simple to repair. Why should we allow it to develop complications and people come and die because of the complications of hernia? So that's why it's very important. So at least by this mission, we can reduce the burden of hernia in our environment.
The outreach did not only benefit the patients, but resident nurses and doctors at the Ho Teaching Hospital, as there was a transfer of skills. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News. Ho.
Hi there. Thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to get into the papers, and I welcome aboard Political Scientist Director for the Center for European Studies, Dr. Kwame Asare-Asante. Doc, good morning. Good to have you for another Wednesday.
Good morning, Ben. Good to be here.
I hope you're doing well.
Very well. Very well.
We bless the Lord. Are those some of your chickens? I know you're a farmer, an animal husbander, if you like. Are those some chickens you're rearing, or is it just neighborhood chickens getting into our video?
We'll talk. We'll talk.
You know, I still owe you that visit to see your fish farm.
You do? Yes. Make yourself available and you'll be happy. Yes.
So what is it that is it tilapia? Is it cat? I think it's catfish, right? It appears we just lost Doc there. He is a farmer. Yes, you probably didn't know that aspect of what he does. We'll try to reconnect with him and just start off on that lighter note before we get into the papers. But this morning, as we try to reconnect or establish that connection once more, we'll be looking at the Daily Graphic, the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Guide, the Finder, Republic Press, Ghanaian Publisher, the Custodian, among other papers. Interesting stories we've lined up for you. And maybe we'll start with this one. When Doc gets on board, I would like to ask him about the cedi and its current state as it falls to over 11 to the dollar. And we'll also look at that. We'll explore that interesting question of Freddie Blake, former chairman of the MPP, actually representing Aisha Huang. There are so many dynamics to it, and as a student of law, I can look at it from 2 different angles. The angle of the message this conveys to the ordinary person, but also the angle of purely professional work. You get it? So there are two different opinions on this one, and I think I side with both, but we'll find out what Doc has to share on those. In the meantime, using debt repayments to finance climate actions. Time to act now. Oforiatta rallies G24. I'm talking about the Minister of Finance, Ken Oforiatta, who was called on the group of 24 developing countries, popularly known as the G24, to champion the rollout of more debt for climate swaps in order to address the dual crisis of climate change and rising debt. He said that would help the countries, predominantly emerging and frontier economies, build economic resilience among climate-vulnerable countries. Quote, the time to act is now, and I call on the G24 to champion the rollout of more debt for climate swaps in order to address the dual crisis of climate change and rising debt in order to build economic resilience among climate-vulnerable countries. Mr. Oforiatta said when he addressed the G24 ministers and governors meetings as part of the ongoing International Monetary Fund and World Bank annual meetings. At the Climate Change Conference, that is COP15 in Copenhagen, and you should know because now we're at COP27, billed for Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. At that event, COP15 in Copenhagen, Denmark, in 2009, developed countries committed to collectively mobilize $100 billion annually by 2020 for climate action in developing countries. However, that target has always fallen short significantly. Debt for climate swaps are therefore an emerging innovation where partial debt reliefs are offered countries on condition that the debtor commits to undertake climate-related investments. So basically, it's a call on these countries to provide, first of all, to live up to the promise they made, and then especially to vulnerable countries, particularly vulnerable countries like most of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa, I beg your pardon, and Ghana inclusive. So Mr. Oforiatta said climate change had over the last 2 decades wiped out a fifth of the wealth of climate vulnerable countries, including that of G24 members, including Ghana. That, he said, meant that vulnerable countries had lost approximately $525 billion because of anthropogenic global warming, which is a global warming attributable to human activity as opposed to the natural climate cycle. All right, so that story done and dusted. Let's get into other stories. NPA finds 9 oil companies for illegal acts, and then 8 witnesses to face Aisha Huang in court. Both of those stories on page 13. So let's quickly gallop towards page 13. Let's get there. There we are. Okay, so the National Petroleum Authority has fined 9 oil marketing companies some 2.215 million Ghana cedis for engaging in illicit third-party trading of petroleum products and unlawful lifting of petroleum products. The companies include Bello Petroleum, Jas Petroleum, Oval Energy, Cross Energy, Safety Petroleum, and Santol Energy. The rest are Rise Globe Energy, Scion Energy, and Seago Energy. A statement issued by the Corporate Affairs Directorate of the NPA in Accra yesterday said the companies had to pay the fine immediately. It said failure to comply with the sanctions would attract an additional 1-month suspension of their operations in the petroleum downstream industry. But then let's get into the bit about Aisha Huang. 8 witnesses to face Aisha Huang in court. And the Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, is seeking an expeditious trial of the alleged illegal mining kingpin and Huang, a.k.a. Aisha Huang. At the Accra High Court yesterday, the AG indicated the readiness of the state to start full-scale prosecution of the Chinese and informed the court that he had lined up 8 witnesses to make the prosecution's case. According to Mr. Dame, his outfit had filed 4 witness statements and 18 other pieces of evidence as parts of its disclosures. He then prayed the court, presided over by Justice Lydia Osei-Marfo, to give the prosecution 1 week to file all the disclosures and also consider hearing the case on a daily basis for an expeditious trial. Justice Marfo remanded the suspects and adjourned the case to October 24, 2022 for a case management conference to allow the AG ample time to file all the needed disclosures. Present in court to witness proceedings was the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu Jenapo. Anyway, so those are some of the major stories making the news as far as the Daily Graphic is concerned. There's also Defense Exhibition Conference underway in Accra. There's girls advised to be assertive and confident as the commemoration of International Day for the Girl Child takes place. Former Group Undum staff appeal for release of Provident Fund. And on the back page, let's do some sports. Pride History. Homegrown coaches lead Africa's campaign. And that story there, of course, there's Rigobert Song in Cameroon, Jalel Kadri in Tunisia, Otto Addo from Ghana, and Alu, in fact, Cisse from Senegal. So 4 major coaches leading 4 major teams on the continent to the World Cup. Doc, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry for the little break.
Not a problem, not a problem. Technology does its own thing. I was just asking very quickly, so we can get past that. What is it that you fish? Is it catfish or tilapia?
Catfish.
Catfish. Catfish. About how many do you have? I mean, we're talking business here. How many tanks do you have?
About 2,000 for now.
About 2,000 of them?
Yeah, but very soon you're going to get about 4,000 brought on board. Yeah.
So for someone who may be thinking, look, these are hard economic times, is that a viable thing to start? How cost intensive is it?
Oh, it is not that expensive to start with, but it's a lucrative business and it can really be done anywhere, you know. And so I will urge people to go into that as we support ourselves and support our state. It's a useful venture.
Doc, I think we should be partnering on this one. But just to wrap that conversation,
yes.
How long have you done this?
I started off last year, and I'm seeing positive signs. I hope we can replicate it elsewhere to give jobs to our people and provide food and support for our society. Yes.
I was just pushing you on that because, like I said, I'm sure many people would be looking at other means they can use to rake in some money. And obviously...
Yeah, it is one way, sure way by which people can support and all that. So the process can help ourselves. Yeah.
Let's get into the Daily Graphic. So, 8 witnesses to face Aisha Huang in court. I just wanted your take. So the trial judge made it clear yesterday that, look, this bail thing is not going to happen, Mr. Lawyer. You've tried it before. You bring it again. I'm going to quash it. And that was an interesting, bit in court. But another twist is the fact that Freddie Blade, former chairman of the party, is in the thick of things representing Aisha Huang. Now, there are 2 angles people have looked at it from. That, look, if government is committed to the fight against Galamsey, we shouldn't be seeing top figures. I mean, let it be other figures, but top figures in government representing her. But the other aspect is that he is a lawyer, he is professional, and as a lawyer, you are free to represent anybody. So for those who say, okay, yes, but maybe on the back of principle and where the party is leaning towards the fight against Galamsey, he shouldn't have taken it up. And others say there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Where do you stand on this?
From the legal perspective, he has committed no wrong. He can defend everybody, including people who have been accused of committing murder and all that. All right, so there's nothing wrong in that regard, but there's a political cost to it. And then the political cost is the perception people will have about the government with a fight and all that. So that is the politics of it. But beyond that, he has committed no wrong. It is within his legal right and then within his professional right to defend any human being who has been accused of something in court. That's it. But how people perceive this is going to be a function of how they vote in an election. It's going to be a function of how they see the government as you put it, in the fight against that problem that we have in this country. But professionally, he's done nothing wrong.
And I agree with you. I mean, it's from both angles. You really can't fault a man too much when it comes to these bits. Ghanaian Times newspaper, President urges Africa's military to combine efforts to deal with continent's insecurity. Court refuses Aisha Huang bail again. And GHCCI demands 10 billion Ghana cedi debt arrears owed by government for work done by members. I had done a story earlier about the NPA slapping 9 OMCs with 2.2 million Ghana cedis in fines. That is over third-party trading and lawful lifting of petroleum products. And there was also 80 more foreign nationals in police grips at Kenyasi Duase. So let's get to page 3, then we'll go to 16 and 17. So 80 more foreign nationals in the grip of the police at Kenyasi Duase. 80 more foreign nationals said to be in fraudulent online businesses were at the weekend arrested by the Tafo Pankrono Divisional Police Command in Kumasi. They were busted at Kenyasi Duase in the Kwabre East districts of the Ashanti region. Out of the number, 9 were females, all from Burkina Faso, and the rest of them from Nigeria and Niger. While the females have been kept at Kenyasi police custody, the rest were kept at the Tafo Pankrono Divisional Police Command. They were all said to be living in a chamber and hall apartment in the area. The reason I bring this up, I think recently, just around the Achimota enclave, there was an arrest, a swoop on quite a number of people, I think about 40 or 80 of them, who had just arrived from, I think, Niger. But the truck that had brought them had unfortunately left. It appears, I don't know whether it's just how porous our borders are, but it appears these nationals can come in, and quite a number of them, of course, there are so many doing genuine business in the country, but quite a number of them are up to no good. How do we deal with this, Doc?
All that we need to do is that the institutions must work. They are paid to do a service. We want to see that. Why am I saying that? Because if you look at the Nigerian story, it surprised me that they came through all our borders and nobody saw them in terms of the security people, none of them, immigration, police, national security, and the rest of them. Nobody saw them. My worry is that, one, it creates a certain problem for us. And the problem is that you have seen in recent times how Ebola is ravaging some parts of Africa. If we don't take care, the time we realize some of these people have entered this country. And then you can understand the trouble we are going to put ourselves in. 2, this is the era of terrorism, that you don't want to leave any stone unturned with regard to security. So a thing of this nature, poses a problem to some of us that, hey, if we don't take care, people will, enter the system and create problem for us. And 3, it also tells you that anything can cross the border, and that is not good enough. We believe that the security are working 24/7. I have no doubts in my mind. But some of these lapses can cost us dearly. We want them to take a second look at that and step up their game. And that is the way to go.
Let's get into other stories. Let's turn to page 16. But before we go there, I saw this interesting article. Study, steamed ginseng treats colorectal cancer, improves math skills and vaccine effectiveness. So what we like to call ginseng. So steamed ginseng treats colorectal cancer, improves mathematical skills and vaccine effectiveness. You might want to check out that article on page 9 of the paper. I don't know the author or anything, but I just found the article interesting. Page 16, President urges African military to combine efforts to deal with continent's insecurity. And President Akufo-Addo has called on Africa's military to combine their capabilities to counter the insecurities that plague the continent. According to the president, the link between transnational organized crime and terrorism was a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, posing a concrete threat to international peace and development of states. Of course, he said this at the opening ceremony of a 2-day International Defense and Exhibition and Conference, IDEC 2022, at Burma Camp. Just because you've been talking, Doc, about the threat of terrorism, and how the president links this bit. Is it practical, though, in terms of combining efforts on the continent militarily? Is it feasible? Is it something that currently we can start engaging on?
Oh, it is feasible. Security people have worked together across, the globe. Wherever they are, they share information and then they compare notes. That is how they've operated over the years. And I don't think that this is a time that they want to, stay away from this type of exercise. They should continue to do it. But you see, they need resources. Sometimes when you see budget giving to security people, it's nothing to write home about. They need strong support in terms of logistics, in terms of resources to work. What is more is that we want to also see, the president talks about transnational crime, talk about terrorism as some of the things that work against our security on the continent. That is true. It is beyond doubt that it is the truth. But what is more truthful is that we need good governance. One of the things that have created insecurity for Africa is bad governance, where people rule without recourse to law, where people rule anyhow, and that gives open the floodgates for soldiers to come in and do all manner of things. They need to up their game. I'm talking about civilian authority and rule so that
we appear to be losing Doc one more time, unfortunately, but we'll try to get him back, and hopefully the connection will be a bit more generous to us. Let's get into the Daily Guide newspaper now, and as and when he connects with us, there are some stories I would like to run by him. Some of the other stories here we've already taken a look at, but other stories to highlight. Jury ready for Kaswa teen killers, if you remember that story. Well, they're finally going to court, and they're going to face the full rigors of the law, hopefully. And the killers, of course, in quotes. So we'll see what the law courts have to say eventually about what happened. But GRA locks up China Mall and others, story on page 3. Another interesting story per the caption here. Minister chases multimedia over Galamsey story. Let's get into those very quickly. So, enforcement officers of the Ghana Revenue Authority yesterday closed 4 branches of the China Mall shopping centers in Accra. A similar action was taken at the Palace Mall in Accra as well. The shopping centers were said to have failed to comply with the e-invoicing system for the value-added tax introduced by the GRA, that is the EVAT. The GRA rolled out the e-invoicing system for VAT collectors from October the 1st, 2022 for 600 large taxpayers that generate more than 90% of the VAT revenue. Unlike the manual system, the e-invoicing system allows the GRA to monitor live transactions in companies where it has been deployed. So you could call it in real time or in close to real time. Close to real time. And live transactions in companies where it has been deployed, thereby making it impossible for taxpayers to either under-invoice or avoid the payment of VAT. When the officials first visited the Spintex branch of the facility, it was not in operation, but GRA said they suspected management had information about the action. Let me bring you some more details of that story. It's on page 6. It continues from there. And Joseph Annan, Area Enforcement Manager of the GRA in charge of Accra Central, explained that the authority had been engaging management of some selected businesses on using the system, but most of them had failed to comply. He warned that though the seals had been fixed, any attempt to take those off constituted an offense against the law, and until the right things were done by the management of the shops, these would remain closed. But then let's get into that story about a minister supposedly chasing multimedia over Galamsey's story. So Western Regional Minister Kwabena Ochre Dakomenta has denied any involvement in illegal mining, otherwise known as Galamsey, as claimed in a report carried by MyJoy Online, a subsidiary of the Multimedia Group. Of course, you know where the allegations come from. The minister, in a letter addressed to the media house, argues that the allegations were made against him in the story were false, baseless, and aimed at courting public disaffection for his hard-won reputation. The minister, through his solicitors, is therefore demanding a retraction of the story and a written apology. So here's the bit. We know about the allegations by the chief of Dumping Pepesa, and he made it categorical in terms of those whom he felt were engaged in galamsey, aka illegal mining. Of course, the Western Regional Minister, the MCE, and of course the Member of Parliament for Takwa in Swayim, but will allow the law to take its course on this matter. What is of interest for me, though, is the Lands and Natural Resources Minister. While he talks about the law taking its course and all of that, he singles out his deputy, George Mirkuduka, and says that he is confident he is not involved in all of that. Like some others have said, maybe we should just let the law take its course. After all, Mr. President has said, if you're found culpable, he is not going to protect you, not going to defend you. So why not allow the law to run its course? And then we shall find out whether these gentlemen, as per the allegations, are free of any error, free of complicity, or whether, in fact, they have their hands in any pies. It's up to the law to decide, not up to me. So, and we will always expose whatever has to be exposed. We'll do our work. That one, anybody can be certain of. We shall do our work without any fear or favor. Anyway, so Doc, welcome back. You came back right on time. I just wanted to run by you. I'm sure you've heard of that incident regarding Western Regional Minister Kwabena Otchere-Darko-Mensah, the allegations that he, who is a Western Regional Minister, together with the Member of Parliament for Takwa and Swayim, who also happens to be Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, and Benjamin Akakpo, MCE, that they are involved in galamsey. Today, in the Daily Guide newspaper, the Western Regional Minister is calling for, he is saying that he has nothing to do with galamsey. He is saying, he's even calling for a retraction from the multimedia group. But of course, the chief of Dompim, Pepesa, who actually made that known on the Super Morning Show some days ago, stands by his claims and whatever evidence he has. Your quick reactions to that when it comes to the fact that the president says, don't get involved in galamsey, but more and more we seem to hear of people in establishment, apart from Akunta mining, and which the OSP is investigating, tied to Chairman Wuntubi. What is your take on this matter?
If you look at the case we are talking about the minister, the MCs, and the DC who are alleged to be involved in the matter, I think that at this level it's an allegation. So I don't want to go into it because I don't have the full facts. I have not heard from both sides. So let's leave it. When whoever has been accused must be able to defend himself, and then we'll know where the truth is. But on a more important aspect of it is the issue of galamsey. I am not happy the way we are going about things. It appears to me that we are paying lip service to it, but it's a real threat to this country, a real threat. Why am I saying that? If you look at the effect of galamsey on the ecosystem, it is a lot that we need to sit down and think properly and then shy away from these activities, because it has implication on food production, it has implication on health, and it has implication on international politics. If you look at neighboring countries, I listened to one of your networks and they were talking about the fact that at a point in time, the water flowing from Ghana to Cote d'Ivoire, they had to shut one of their dams and all that. This thing can create unfriendly relations and all that. And then the more important aspect is that a time will come, we'll not even have water to drink. And can we survive it? I think that government must be firm. And then people who have been accused in government must be prepared to expose them or call them to order so that this thing stops. And then we have given the government the power to enforce rules and regulations. So I'm surprised the approach of government and all that. It appears to me that the government is not ready to fight the battle, but they should remember that they have to leave a record, and that it is this record that they will stand on the next election and future elections. It is an early warning that we are giving them. Let me just say it's a caution, and that the earlier they did the right thing, the better. Otherwise, I'm telling you, this thing will become one of the important issues of consideration for the next election. I can say without fear of contradiction. I want to touch on the very thing that I was talking on, which I went off about the president talking about transnational crime and then terrorism, which undermines security of Africa. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
But what is more important is that civilian government must govern according to what the dictates of good governance. We don't want any bad governance because that is the avenue through which soldiers take advantage and come and misgovern us. We want government to do the right thing, and we as people must also stand up and fight against any illegitimate attempts to undermine democracy in Africa.
Right.
I am a student of democracy, and I will remain so forever. It doesn't matter how long democracy gives us the dividends of democracy, but I know that is the best system of government. So all that we have to do is that we need to be vigilant, because it is nothing but what the price of liberty. We must stand up and make sure that our leaders are held accountable, and that if they don't perform according to the dictates of good governance, in the closest election, we throw them away without fear.
I've always said that our democracy should count. Democracy goes by certain tenets. It has certain deliverables, and we must see the deliverables of democracy. But thank you. Very important point you've made there. Tied to that Galamsey story, two other stories. There are just two things I'll look at, but I have no links to Galamsey anywhere. Mreku Duka, the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, says so. That's in the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper. All of them have denied, but let's see what will be evinced by way of evidence. But tied to that, Galamsey, 2 jailed 20 years each. We were unemployed and hungry, they pleaded with the judge. And the two here, Ayodele Jackson and Benjamin Obin, the convicts. So that story is on page 2. Let's take a quick look at it, and we'll do one more story from Republic Press, and it's done. So a Takwa Circuit Court judge, Hathia Amamenu, has sentenced 2 Nigerians to 2 20-year prison terms for engaging in illegal mining, commonly known as Galamsey. The terms will run concurrently. The convicts, Ayodele Jackson and Benjamin Obin, were arrested at Bipwase near Prestia in the Western region. The 2 men who were sentenced on October 7 pleaded guilty to the charges with the explanation that they were unemployed and hungry and had only resorted to the Galamsey work as a means of surviving. Of course, we know about what the law says when it comes to Ghanaians, but when you're a foreigner engaging in these, then matters take a different turn. I also want to add this very interesting story. Man missing for 3 days, found with hand trapped in rat hole. Basically, you can call it kisie. He was following that. Residents of Sifi Apampanaye, so Sifi Asempanaye, my apologies, on the Western North region, were thrown into a state of shock when a 64-year-old man, Ejose, who was declared missing for 3 days, was found in a bush trapped in a rat hole. According to reports, the man was found in the bush with his right hand trapped in a rat hole after he was believed to have been chasing the animal. Ejose was said to have left his home for his cocoa farm on Saturday, but did not return. He's currently undergoing medical attention at the Sifi Asempaneye Government Hospital. I don't know whether it's the times that got him to do that or just a taste for bush meat, but his hand was caught there for 3 days. That's an interesting story. So Galamsey and 2 20-year terms for the Nigerians and the story. That's how we'll wrap, Doc. Over to you.
I will look at the first one is a human interest story about hunting and all. There's a price to pay for some of these things. So I will leave it at that. But if you look at those who have been jailed for illegal mining, all right, it should tell us that once you cross the line, you have your fingers bent. There's no two ways about that. And you cannot use unemployment as an excuse to commit a crime. If you say so, then my understanding is that, yes, I am unemployed, so I can even engage in armed robbery to make a living. Is that the case? No. This also brings to the fore the issue of the fact that government must also make sure that they create employment. I'm not saying that it is an excuse for robbery, for committing any crime, no. But that we owe it a duty to ourselves as a government any government that we have in this country must make conscious effort to create jobs, because we are getting large army of unemployed youth, parading our streets and roaming in town. It's not good enough. It is a threat to the country's security. The earlier we took an important decision about this, the better. We need to walk the talk. There are a lot of talk shops. We need to shy away from that and do things that realistically get people jobs so that they can put body and soul together. Let us remember that our failure to do this will have the problem compounded year by year, because we train a lot of people in our universities and other schools and all that. What are they coming to do? We need to look at it holistically and address it once and for all.
Right. Doc, always a blessing having you. We wish you the very best of this Wednesday morning.
I'm grateful. I wish you a good day.
And I wish you more catfish.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the site.
Yes, sir.
And you will enjoy.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the invitation. That's actually my former lecturer at the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana. And now he is Director for the Center for European Studies, Dr. Kwame Asante. It's always good catching up with him. It reminds me of the old days. But right before we get into sports, a happy 7th birthday to Berima Kofi Asante Ochery. Berima Kofi Asante Ochery of Jewels of the Millennium School, North Legon. It's from your mom, Mrs. Anita Dolores Asante Ochery of Best Point, and your dad, Engineer Daniel Ochery of Kwewu West Municipal. May God's purpose for your life be established. So you're 7 today, Berima Kofi Asante Ochery of Jewels of the Millennium School, North Legon. For mom and dad, from me, your uncle, and from all of us here, we wish you the very best. May you grow to be a man after God's own heart. On that note, let's get ready for sports. There's so much coming up. You don't want to miss it. Stay.
Good morning, Muftar Nabilabla here with AM Sports. In exactly a month from today, most European leagues will go on break for the FIFA World Cup to start on November 20. And that simply means that Ghana, its players, will also be assembling for the competition as we get preparations underway to start our first game against Portugal on November 24. A former management committee chairman of the senior national team, Wilfred Kweku Osei, spoke to us a couple of days ago, and he had a message for the football governing body. According to him, the leadership of the Ghana Football Association should not influence the decisions of the technical team on who should be invited to play at the FIFA World Cup.
I don't have any problem with the squad.
A strong technical team?
Yes, they are a strong technical team. But nobody should try and influence them to take a decision that will be challenged later.
Try and influence them. Were you influencing the decision of player selection?
The coach will have to come and rationalize why a given player has been chosen.
So if the coaches are supposed to rationalize to the FA, is it a wrong thing to do?
We have heard comments from leadership, and we know what is going on.
Comments from who?
Leadership.
Who are the leadership?
When somebody says, I told them to choose this person.
Kurt is the leader of the FA, so if other members of the association does that...
Odo Safo is part of the leadership at the FA.
Yes, Randy Abe is part of leadership.
Yes.
Dr. Tonoben is part of leadership. Samuel Enim Adom is part of the leadership.
I'm not referring to Kurt.
But do you think it is possible that an executive committee member can influence?
The person said it to my hearing.
What about if that person was just bad-mouthing the FA for you? What if that person was just bad-mouthing his leader for you?
Nabila, there is no speculation.
No, but you're taking it hook, line, and sinker. Probably the person might have a different interest. That's what the person.
When a building collapses, you don't have to ask whether the ceiling was part of it or the roof was part of it. The main building has collapsed, and you are asking, well, the ceiling can. Huh?
So this rhetorical question. My final question: how far do you think we can go at the World Cup? How far?
We should be able to make it semi-final. That is if you do the right things.
What are they?
Selection or merit.
It's very important. Still on the Black Stars, the first psychologist the senior national team used during its first ever participation in a Mundial was Dr. Yao Mfojo. He says the relationship between the Jan brothers was such that the elder Jan decided to sacrifice his career for the younger one, which is Asamoah Jan, to succeed.
Having to deal with his disappointment. Then there was the other challenge of having to deal with Bafo Jan, because and I'm sure that you can relate to this a lot better, but if you've watched the relationship between Bafo and Asamoah, Bafo basically he's so close to Asamoah that it's almost like he had to give Asamoah Jan permission to play when he had been dropped.
Yeah.
So it was also now, and in mental health and psychiatry or psychology, you call that situation almost like a folie à deux, like the control or the influence of one, whether the person is married or has wife, husband, brothers, whatever. So you have to deal with Bafo in almost getting his permission to allow Asamoah to perform.
Wow.
So that was also a very, I mean, it was interesting, the dynamic. I mean, I didn't realize how intimate,
deep-rooted.
Exactly. And I suspect that it must have played out again when in the 2008
Africa Cup of Nations.
So then I was not part of the setup, but I could immediately see the dynamic, and they had to call President Kufuor to exactly, and you know.
Yeah.
But the dynamic.
The female national rugby team is targeting a place in a future under 15th World Cup competitions as it seeks to become a major force in Africa. My colleague Asar Bidiako has more in the following report.
The Women's Rugby 15th World Cup is underway in New Zealand. 12 teams in 3 pools each are competing for the coveted title. The dream of female rugby players in the country is to get the opportunity to compete in the tournament in the not too distant future. After competing and excelling in several competitions on the continent, the national female rugby team has in recent times been competing in the Barbarians 15th event, which comes off in Accra every Saturday. Rafatu Inusa, women's representative on the Ghana Rugby Board, is confident Ghana will make it to the Women's 15th Rugby World Cup one day.
We are hoping that whatever we've started here is able to encourage the ladies to be able to put out their best and represent Ghana at the international level. And I'm so excited to see players coming from all the 3 regions of rugby, that is Greater Accra, Northern and then Central region. We have players coming all across from these regions playing in this competition. Basically, you can see the big girls who were not able to fit into the 7th group are very happy to have the 15th ongoing, and then those people who are not able to get into the squad are now putting out their best as to what they are really capable of. So basically you can see they are happy, and therefore it encourages them to show what they have and to be able to be called for national games.
The Barbarians 15th aims at preparing rugby players in the country for the club championship and future international assignments.
Hey, press! In the lead up to the UEFA Champions League night on Wednesday, there were a couple of stories from France on how Kylian Mbappe was pushing for an exit out of PSG. However, he let the talking happen more on the football pitch with a first half penalty, but Paris Saint-Germain shared the spoils with Benfica, while Antonio Rudiger's last goal-minute header shattered Shakhtar Donetsk's house in Warsaw, with a 1-1 draw, securing Real Madrid's spot in the Champions League knockout stages. Also, at the San Siro, Chelsea claimed their first Champions League win in Italy for the first time in 19 years by defeating 10-man Milan 2-0. Juventus crashed to their third group defeat as they lost 2-0 to Maccabi Haifa. Yesterday, we reported exclusively on the AM show that the Confederation of African Football has written to the clubs that participated in the maiden edition of the CAF Women's Champions League, telling them that there was no prize money available for them. The details of that story is on my joyonline.com. We do have an update from CAF, who say that the leadership under Dr. Patrice Motsepe met a debt of about $38 million. So unfortunately, they were not able to raise money for that competition. The clubs that we have spoken to have also said they will engage CAF further because they cannot understand why they spent huge amount of money for the competition and will not get anything. The details of that story here. We are sorry you played the tournament for free. That's the story. You can go in there and read every single detail and the specific days and times that CAF sent the emails to the various clubs and copied their various federations. Muftar Nabila Abdullahi, AM Sports.
Hello, good morning. How are you doing today? Trust you're doing well. And thank you for coming and joining us today on the AM show. We start our big stories from the Central Business District in Edum, Kumasi. Some traders there have locked up their shops in protest of rising taxation on their goods. They lament the pressure to honor payment of income tax, high cost of store rentals and charges from the Metropolitan Assembly is eroding their profit. The cumulative taxes, they say, is crippling their businesses. We speak to stakeholders on the show, but first here's a report by Love FM's Mona Lisa Frimpong.
The usual hustle and bustle at the Central Business District of Edum has been absent. Major shops have been locked up. Red pieces of cloth hung at the entrance of these closed shops. Some shop owners idle around, some sitting in front of their locked shops. They say they have been directed by leaders of the Edum Traders Association to lock up their shops.
The problem is regarding our tax system. As it stands, we are unable to pay. All along, we take that money from our profits to pay the government, which as it stands now, it has swallowed us. We cannot pay.
The traders, including some wholesalers and retailers, lament their profit margins are adversely affected by high taxation. To make profit, retailers are mandated to add up various amounts on goods to sell to consumers. This, they say, has resulted in the cost rise of products.
And that's a wholesale price. We call net the 10 series at home. We call net or China the 20 series at home. In
a week, there can be 50 series increment in the wholesale price of a particular commodity.
But
recently, near Master, what are the cross service? Even though 100 is crowding a day. Imagine, say, this week here, Calipa 7 years funnel 39. Within Saturday, Friday, almost 50 cities. How come?
The price of every product has even soared.
Because already we've been at the surprise me. Nipa na dey body be out so. And so na me so me dia me dey to so. And so na power o customer.
Other traders are unhappy with the activities of some officials of the Ghana Revenue Authority posted to their shops.
Started with GI for a problem. Ne VAT here almost say. Omo dey obi bet na your shop. Na ade ba ku bi abetun dia almost 6%. Secondly, came for so we have a problem with them because came for ba no ma be discount.
Ghana Revenue Authority agents have been posted to our shops to deduct 6% from every product purchased.
Dollar rate is so cost so pa. Who got idea 2 days? Idea that channel. This all the 30 cities total. And Ghana has to know the Yakura and such Chinese if one is Tikroma no more adwuma akese. Omo ti ha no mo ya no ma $6 no mo the dollar the ko omo kro.
Some shoppers who had travelled from outside Kumasi to make purchases were left disappointed and frustrated by the turn of events. Now that the shops are closed, how will I survive today? I am a single mother. Loading boys sit idly at the Central Business District. On a regular day, they would be busy carting goods in and out of shops. But that is not the case in the past 2 days. The industrial action of the Adum traders is adversely impacting their daily wages.
Right now, we are sitting here idle. Me 50 kilos, aswa 50 kilos so aswa na wa mama 30 pesos. They say kwa nso ye ton say. Nso aye no bisa so wura ye ase wo nso ba kwa ye say. Me yire ba ko me wama 5 na ma staff free ha na ma staff fuka me fuka ba na ma fuka. I spent a lot on transport fare to come, but the shops are closed. What you say? Me chucheska, ntisere me chucheska na me hu say ebia me ba. Me ka krasha on bottom no. Na ma ba na aye style mama. Aye store mam there. Minim de mbe yam ho. Ana me nko bokro na na. Me nko bokro no.
Headquarters in the Central Business District also share the same plight.
So we want them to help us to reduce the things, because so that they can buy and we carry. Yesterday it's not easy for us because yesterday even chop money kura. Yesterday I wasn't get. Yesterday kura 7 cities I was get and I was go back to home. If you are going to buy water, you are going to pay. If you are going to buy food they are not doing 2 cedi unless you add 3 cedi or 5 cedi.
Truck drivers are among other frustrated groups with their inability to convey goods from the Central Business District to neighboring towns. Their vehicles are parked on the streets. Some are disappointed at the fuel consumed for their day's trip.
I came all the way from Kintampo. I spent 1,000 cedis on fuel. The stuff was your mummy stuff. And I'm a car easy way. Can make me the car if you are Kintampo. If you are quite different fuel, 10 million. You did free a cooking tampo.
Because Nemo Moede. My free diesel na me buy, I say me buy, Benya Namako to America. They say me buy, I see stores for MBA story.
I bought diesel on credit to fuel my vehicle here.
If you know you be about the will be a yahi. Better send them a crowd about who crown to me came. And your Saban said, be a dear chrono, I know a ding.
I have slept here for 2 days, waiting for goods.
Yes, you have been far. They say a guy in a mouth, you say a pesca, akufi, a more muddy. Oh, by our Babatra Bossy.
There are ongoing meetings between the Ghana Revenue Authority and leaders of the various trade unions to resolve the issue of taxation. It, however, remains unclear if the action will be called off on Wednesday. For JoyNews, Mona Lisa Frempon reporting.
A story by my colleague from Kumasi which touches every angle of this problem. Clearly you can see it's not a simple problem, and all those affected are lamenting. This morning I've been joined by Charles Apiakubi. He's Executive Secretary of the Ashanti Business Community for a conversation on this. He joins us via Zoom. Good morning, Mr. Apiakubi. Thank you for joining the program. Can you kindly unmute? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, is he okay now?
All right, perfect, we can hear you. Thank you so much for joining the program this morning. First off, let me find out from you if the shops around Edum in Kumasi are still closed this morning.
Yes, confirmed, still closed.
How long are you willing to take this protest?
As long as issues have not been resolved, we will remain closed indefinitely.
Okay, so from the story we heard, there are a number of concerns raised by businessmen like yourself. The first has to do with the rising cost of doing business, which includes the cost of fuel, which includes the CD to dollar ratio. And then there's the other angle, which has to do with government taking what is due it, which has to do with taxes. The concern over the years is that businessmen have tried in many ways to evade taxes. And so the GRA has come up with innovative ways using technology. Quite recently in Accra, we saw that they closed down the China Mall around Spintex for failing to implement the electronic VAT system. But we know what's happening in Edum is that they have sent personnel who go into the shops and take record of every item that is sold so that government can get its due. What exactly is the problem with that?
Thank you for the opportunity. Let me put the issue in the right perspective. We have no challenge with us paying taxes to government. As business people, we believe this country can only survive through taxation and revenue mobilization from government, which we are very dedicated to doing that. We are not invading taxes. No, let no one say that. And we have not said we don't want to pay taxes. What we have raised over the period is the structure of the VAT system. Okay, our market is so unique. The FMCG market is so unique that you don't import or impose taxes that do not sit with the dynamics within the market. Those are the issues we have raised. FMCG market is an unstructured market. Anyone can come in anytime to do business and go without any restrictions. We have high non-tax of VAT compliance. A lot of businesses are not registered for VAT, right? So when you introduce VAT into our system, you have few businesses that have registered for VAT. If they have to add this, either the standard rate, which is 6% levy on it, or the flat rate is 4%, their prices go so high that customers do not want to buy from them. They rather want to buy from those who have not registered for VAT and their prices are cheaper. When this continues, it deprives the right people who want to do the right thing to support the government from doing business. When we say government, this is not sustainable. Can we look at a policy that will cut across every facet of our market so that every person within the market space become compliant, so that you as government can mobilize more revenue as you wanted? This have never yielded any result. So the few of us that have been registered for VAT have been the target of government. And the point is, we also need to stay active in business. So we are compelled not to charge the VAT too, so that we can sell at the price that non-VAT registered agents are also selling it.
But Mr. Piakubi, you cannot do wrong simply because it benefits you, right? Hello, Mr. Piakubi. It appears that we lost him there. The feed is frozen at the moment. Hopefully, we'll be able to rectify that problem. But we've also been joined by Dr. Joseph Obing. Okay, I think we have Mr. Piakubi back. Mr. Piakubi, sorry, the feed froze and we lost you for a few seconds. I was saying that you cannot justify wrongdoing simply because it benefits you.
No, we are not. We don't take pride in doing what is wrong. but we need to survive as business people. If you come to work from Monday to Friday and no one patronizes any of your products for a whole month, how will you meet your bank obligations? You can't. How will you pay your staff? You can't. And let me give you an idea. Some of us have employees over 50, 60 that we pay them every month. So if a month we are not able to record any sales, how do we survive? Our business obviously will collapse. People will lose their jobs. We cannot pay our bank debt. The banks will go bankruptcy. The whole economy will suffer. So we need to devise strategy to survive.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you shortly for the strategies that you're talking about, because earlier you mentioned that government must relook at the policy. Again, I'll come back to you if you have any ideas so you can share. But we've been joined by Dr. Joseph Obing, who is with GUTA. He is actually the president of GUTA. He joins us via phone. Good morning to you, Doc. And it's been quite a hard year on businesses. We've been speaking to you since the beginning of the year, and since the dollar to CD ratio started dropping to the detriment of the CD. And there have been concerns raised over time. Here we are now. Businesses are struggling. We're hearing from Mr. Piakubi, who is saying that, look, we are compelled to do the wrong thing just so we can keep our heads above the water. We are seeing the GRA on the move, closing down some shops. How does this make you feel? And what is the perspective of GUTA on this matter?
Yeah, I think I've discussed with this matter longer time. Let me take advantage to greet Charles, my brother. He's done yeoman's work, and very soon we are going to see even a bigger. It's okay.
No, Mr. Obing, no. I'm interested in that. We're going to see. Are you saying? Are you saying that this is?
Okay, let's go. Please, you see, the disparity in the market is very bad. We've talked about this issue all the time. We've talked about this with the VAT administrators so many times, and when we tell them, they say that they are only implementers. And then even though they recognize the lapses in the tax administration, you have a system that does not ensure fairness. You have a system that does not ensure equity. You have a system that runs trade concurrently in the same vicinity, in the same market. That we have the standard rate of that one pay 19.25, and then we have flat rate of 4%, and then we have those who do not pay the VAT at all, and they are all legitimate. What system is this? A system is not to be discriminatory. A tax system should be uniform. A tax system should not be designed to cripple other companies, to destroy companies. And we've written this and said that what you have done with the VAT, it makes compliance very difficult. It means that those who have registered and doing the right thing are being victimized.
Right.
Those who are registered and paying are being victimized, and that's what our Kumasi people are telling the GRA and telling government, because it should not be said that at this time that our businesses are collapsing, at this time that the exchange rate is depleting all our capital, at this time that the interest rate is so high that we are thinking about how to salvage our businesses, then you send an official to come to sit at our shop. Nobody is going to allow that. We are not going to sit down to be bullied by anybody. We are
But Mr. Bing, if there's nothing to hide, what is the problem about GRA officials ensuring that businesses comply and abide by the law?
Yeah, you are not hiding about anything, but we are saying that there should be parity, there should be fairness, there should be equity.
All right.
That if I'm selling goods and I'm charging 19.25%, it's obvious that you that I'm talking to will not opt for my VAT system. You go and vote for maybe the one who charges the 4%, isn't it? It's rational because there's no compulsion on the part of the consuming public to insist on VAT receipt. Is it? There's no compulsion. Is there compulsion in this country that everybody should take VAT receipt? So the person has discretion to buy from where he should buy. So you charge the standard rate of 19.25%, and then the person go to the person who do not charge, because that person is also legitimate under the laws of VAT, because they say that the person's threshold is not over 200,000. What system is that? There should be uniformity. Tax system should not be designed to destroy businesses. And this is how this tax has been designed. Three systems under one tax regime. It's not possible.
Doc.
So what we are saying, it shouldn't be difficult for anybody to understand.
Doc, you say you've been engaging the GRA and VAT officials on this. They say they are just implementers. They are not those who drafted or formulated the law. Shouldn't you then be looking at Parliament? Shouldn't you be looking beyond the GRA and VAT officials? Clearly, they are right. They are just
If you have written several letters to them and copied to the Ministry of Finance, you've copied to wherever it should go, and it's not working. The best way to do as traders, to show that we are also equal stakeholders in nation building, is to also vent our pain, to wake up and say that you are killing us. This measure that you are bringing to us is killing us, and that we cannot continue like that. And this is the best way we traders can do it, for policymakers to understand. And we've done it, and we continue to do it. And even better ones are going to come. We cannot sit down for these things to continue. We have to find a way to solve our problems for us. Businesses are collapsing. And so whatever the Kumasi people are doing is very legitimate. And they are not going to allow, even when they open their shops, they are not going to sit down for any policy, in fact, official to come into their offices. And we are going to direct them not to allow anybody. Enough is enough.
Doc, are we likely to see a replication of what is happening in Kumasi in other parts of the country?
You said what?
Are we likely to see a replication of what is happening in Kumasi in other parts of the country?
A bigger one. Our capitals are being depleted. Now I have to pay interest rate about 38%. I made a scenario some other time in your own network that if my capital beginning of the year was 640,000 Ghana cedis, I can get $100,000. Now I can only get $60,000 for the same amount that I could have raised 100,000 just beginning of this year. And now the interest, because these monies are also borrowed one. So the interest I have to pay on this same capital of 640,000 per annum, I'm going to pay 224,000 Ghana cedis. Take it from the initial amount, 640, my capital is gone. What am I doing as a trader? The purchasing power of the final consumer is also limited. It has gone down because of inflation. Inflation has eaten up the purchasing power of the consumer. And that he cannot buy the quantity that he used to buy. And so my turnover is drastically affected to the extent that I cannot service my loan and my external credit. What am I doing as a businessman? I'm going off. I'm dying. And so if there's somebody that we have to tell our story to, maybe our story is not being told to IMF to see that we are dying so that they will fast track their effort to help Ghana. Then we have to do it.
Right.
Sometimes demonstrations and all that are not negative at all. Sometimes we do that and people come to us to salvage us. When you cry, when you know that you are suffering, you have to let the whole world know, so that if there's a solution from somewhere, it will come to you. That's why we do some of these things, and that we do not do it out of malice. We do it out of necessity.
Doc, take a breather for me. I'll come back to you shortly. Let's now get into the issue of taxation proper. And we've been joined by Eric Amponsah-Boateng, who is a tax consultant. Thank you so much. I am pretty sure there are many people who are watching or listening and are wondering whose side they should be on. There is the issue of businesses paying the taxes and government needing the revenue for development. And there's the issue of the business people who are saying that you're not doing this properly. The system is not right. Those of us who have registered and are doing the legal things are suffering as a result of our choices to do what is right. They say the tax system is not uniformed. From where you sit as a tax consultant, what will your interpretation of all of this be?
The listeners or viewers, I think that in as much as the traders have a point, I have always said that when you want to implement a tax policy, the best thing to do is to engage the stakeholders. And when I say the stakeholders, who come into mind? Women, the traders, the tax consultants, the businessmen. Okay? And so if you engage them before you bring up that tax policy, then of course the probability that they are going to comply will be very, 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 very high. Okay, now, if you look at our laws, the GRA, they are not just going around probably doing what they are doing. Whatever they are doing is backed by the law. Okay, so we can't really fault them for doing what is in the law. But I think that, yes, if you are running a business and the inflation is so high in the country, the cedi is depreciating, what happens is that even for the tax, it is not paid by the traders. Okay, what happens is that the final consumer or the consumer is the one who pays the tax. But let's not forget about the fact that when you put the amount or the tax on the price of the commodity, what happens is that the price of the commodity becomes very high. And so the first thing that will occur is that your sales will drop. Okay, and when your sales drop, it means that at the end of the day, the profit that you expect is also going to drop. To even the extent that because the cedi has depreciated, and also we are looking at inflation of about 35, 36%. What now happens is that your initial capital that you are even using to run your business is going to be eroded. And so I understand the concerns of the traders. But yesterday I wasn't following it because I was very busy throughout the day. I think it was in the evening that I heard what was actually going on. But you see, I think that the best way around this issue, yes, I'm happy that they have an association. They have leaders. Don't they just go and meet the Commissioner General and then make a case out? Because I believe that if you are implementing a tax policy and the expected revenue is not coming in, then what's even the use of the policy? I remember very well, a few months ago, I spoke on an issue concerning the e-levy. And I told them that, yes, the e-levy, the idea is brilliant. But how the implementation was done was what brought about all those issues. And now people are even of the view that the e-levy must be scrapped. And that is what I'll say.
Yeah, sorry to interject. I mean, the e-levy is another matter. There are many concerns, people even now being charged when they haven't gone beyond the 100 cedi threshold. But I must mention that we heard from the Guta president who says that they have written letters, they have tried to sit and have discussions with the GRA, with the Ministry of Finance and other stakeholders in this matter, and they are not seeing any results all the way forward, and that's why they've decided this route. So, Mr. Bosabwati, clearly, I mean, we all know that the GRA officials are working within the law, but the law doesn't say that they should go into people's offices and people's shops and take stock of every item that is purchased and how much is due them. What would you say about their approach? Because it appears that whilst the traders are trying to get a way to address their concerns, the GRA is also appearing to be insensitive towards their concerns. What would you say about the approach?
Okay. Thank you very much. Perhaps all of us need some education. If you look at the law, the Commissioner General has the right to enter your premises.
Okay.
Okay, so the GRA is acting based on that clause that is in the law. Aside that, you see, if you want to, for example, lock up a place, maybe in terms of business, where the business is being operated from, you don't just get up, okay, and go probably with armed policemen or women and go and lock up the premises. There is a procedure. There is a procedure to be followed. So probably I would want to find out from the GRA team, did they follow that or not? Because you see, before you can go out and lock the premises of a taxpayer, like I've said earlier on, there is a procedure. One of them even involves writing to the taxpayer, inviting him or her to the office. And in this case, they even have an association. So I would expect that probably they wrote to the leader or the executive of Guta. That is even the first step. If you write to them and they fail to respond, okay, the next thing that you can do is to issue what we call a distress letter. Okay, a distress letter. And we all know what that word means. Distress. It means that you have done everything humanly possible to get a taxpayer to come to the table. And if the taxpayer does not do that and you want to go by that line, okay, that one can come in. Even to the extent that if a taxpayer owes GRA, okay, you can even garnish the account of the taxpayer. It is in the law. You see, so I think that the two parties have to come to the table. The GRA has to invite Guta to their offices and then engage them. Because you see, at the end of the day, if these businesses close down.
Sorry, Mr. Bonsabwateng, sorry. I mean, I was just hoping that you could wrap up easily on this, wrap up quickly on this so that I come in.
Okay.
But so these shops in Kumasi that have been closed were by the traders themselves, not by the GRA. The traders closed the shops in protest of what they say is the action of the GRA, which they find unfavorable, and other economic challenges crippling their businesses. On the other hand, in Accra, we have seen GRA officials go to places like the China Mall on the Spintex Road to close down the place for non-compliance in the implementation of the electronic VAT system. So my question was specifically to the situation in Kumasi where GRA officials were being sent to enter shops and take record of every item that was sold so that they can make the right deductions. The traders admit they're supposed to pay tax, but they also say that those of us who are complying with the law are suffering, and those who are not complying with the law are benefiting because they don't have to put the taxes on their products, and so they're selling their items cheaper, and the consumer will go to them. So for those of us who are complying, we are suffering and our businesses are dying. And my question was about the approach of sending individuals into the shops to do these activities.
Yes. You see, I mentioned earlier on that the Commissioner General has the right to do that. Okay. And when these shop owners lock their shops, I think it is in a way sending a signal, probably to the GRA and to the government. Okay, so yes, they are right. They can go in there and then look at the items and all that.
Okay.
But I am also happy that you have observed that if somebody is adding the VAT or whatever levy to the price of the product, what happens is that your product, the prices become very high, and therefore people will not buy. And so those who have not added any VAT or e-levy or whatever, they are going to get people to buy their goods, meaning that the one who is not even tax compliant is the one making the money.
Exactly.
And those that even want to do the right thing, they are the ones who are losing out. And I don't think that is fair. In taxation, we have equity. Okay, we have fairness. And so if these traders have seen that there are other friends or brothers or sisters who are not tax compliant, are rather benefiting and making more profit than them, of course, they have the right to also be angry. But I think that when you are angry, you must ensure that at least you do the right thing.
All right.
Because look, if they close down their shops for about a week, at the end of the day, the profit that they would have even made so that they can even take care of themselves, they will not get that money. And
but they're basically
they're
saying they're not even making any profit. So what's there to lose? The little they make is being taken away. So for them, it's almost like they're not losing anything. But let me go back to Mr. Charles Appiah-Kubi, who is Executive Secretary of the Ashanti Business Community. So, Mr. Appiah-Kubi, you have mentioned that there are people who are not complying with the law, for which reason they are benefiting at your expense. What have you done about that? Do you know these individuals? Have you reported them? Have you done the right thing?
You see, it's not within our remit to ensure everybody gets compliant because I've already indicated our market is unstructured. So anyone comes in and anyone goes out. I mean, there's no rules to who comes to buy, who comes to sell. And having appreciated the challenges within the market, that's what we drew government attention that could there be any tax system that will ensure total compliance, equity, and support the growth of businesses. You see, we didn't close our shop in protest of GRA visiting our shops. That should be established. We have closed down our shops because our business are collapsing and it's influenced by our tax system, that's the VAT system, and other economic indicators that are showing downturn. Currently, because some of us have registered as VAT agents, and we are not able to charge, we are compelled to pay through our working capital. That is where our capital starts depleting. That is where the danger is. For us as citizens, our concern is we want to ensure government enjoy optimum revenue from our market. We want to ensure government achieves economic agenda, but it should also put into place things that will support the growth of business. When businesses are growing, the economy benefits. So we have professed some solutions.
Okay, let's hear them.
Because of the unique nature of the FMCG market, we have told government, is it possible that all the taxes you want to deduct, all the revenues you want to make, can you take it as source? In this country, there are two main sources that have been established that goods enter into our market, either through the port of entry, when you are clearing goods, or at the manufacturing side. So if you want to take 19.25% or even 20%, take it at the port of entry. At the manufacturing, take the 19.25, even 20%, take it. if we do that, when the goods come to the market, you as government have already realized your revenue. Allow the business people to play whatever game they want to play in the market. For our corporate income tax, we will pay. Our payee, we will pay. That will ensure total compliance. That is not forced on us. This, we think, could help government maximize on money, what you call it, revenue mobilization. Government is not listening to us, but you are targeting the listening to you.
Which forum have you made these proposals to government, or how have you made these proposals to government?
You see, we did not start this journey today. For the past 3-4 years, we've been running and drumming to government that your tax system, your VAT system is not supporting.
Mr. Piakubi, can you help me with specifics? Can you help me with specifics? So say...
We have been part of government budget discussions.
Okay.
Even recently, almost about 2 months ago, we were part of that pre-budget discussion that was held in Kumasi. We told them, okay, it is time that government probably listen to the business community, because we said government have never run FMCG market. So you will not appreciate the dynamics in the market. It is appropriate to listen to the key players within the market. We want you to succeed as government. We want this country to grow. We all know where we are now. We want to see a solution coming, and it should come from the business community. And that's what we are professing. We did not do this for our own and for ourselves. We are doing for the larger community in Ghana, that the consumer is protected, the businessman is also protected. And at the end of the day, Ghana wins. That is our proposition. And I think it's very simple that any listening government should be happy to listen to us on that.
We're in the last quarter of the year. Christmas is fast approaching, and we know what Christmas is like for businesses and for consumers. From what you're seeing on the market and what's the dynamics and everything that is happening, are you able to predict what Christmas is going to look like for your colleagues and the consumers at large?
Sorry, I lost you.
I was asking if you're able to determine or predict what the market will look like for the Christmas season, seeing that we're in the last quarter of the year and all these things are happening.
The sad thing is our business have collapsed, and there's nothing we can do. Borrowing rate has gone high. Probably our last resort was to go to the bank for borrowing, but now you know the borrowing rates. So we have to lift our hands in despair. There's no hope now. The only thing we think government have control over is his tax system. If we put it right, we will have some safe tax system to push the little business we want to do.
But you know that the tax system is quite a long process. We'll have to go through Parliament and all that, and so this is not an immediate solution that you can get to this problem, is it? Hello, Mr. Piakubi.
Sorry, I keep listening to you.
I was saying that the issue of looking at the taxes and all that will have to go through Parliament. That is not an immediate solution to your problem, is it?
You see, of course. But if there's an assurance that there's a hope for tomorrow, you can survive. You definitely will find some survivor. But as we speak now, there's no hope. Hope will only come from the policymaker, giving us the assurance that your grievances, your issues, your challenges can be addressed. Can we sit down and draw a roadmap to see how best we support you? That's not being received. So there's no hope.
So will your shops be opened when that assurance comes, since you have admitted that you will not get the immediate solution to your problem? Will an assurance cause you to go back to your shops and open them?
A committed assurance from government that our recommendation will be hit to, will convince us to go back to business. If not, the little investment we have made, we will probably save it to take care of our families.
Right. I'll come back to you, but let me wrap up with Dr. Joseph, President of GUTA. Doc, we are approaching Christmas. You sounded very passionate in your earlier submission. From where you sit as a president of GUTA, what does Christmas look like for business owners?
Well, where is the money in the first place? The money is gone. Our capitals have been eroded. So we are not to expect the volumes that we used to bring. We are not expecting that prices are also going to go down so that our customers are going to enjoy the Christmas, because even the duties keep on going up. Bank of Ghana keep changing the forest rate for customs to charge us. It used to be 7.2. Now they raised it to 9.85. It has made duties gone up to about 35%. So all this shows that people are not going to enjoy the Christmas, because enjoying the Christmas goods means that we are able to bring more goods for you. We are able to bring the goods at affordable prices, and these are not going to happen this time around. And then we are very sorry that it should come, be like this, but it's not our fault. But the gentleman, the consultant, was talking about the commissioner having the right to come to our premises. Yes, we admit, but the larger right resides in the people of Ghana. The larger right resides in the trading community, who the law is being made for. So if you make a law, and that the law, there's no compliance with it, it means that you failed with that law, and that right that is enshrined in you is nullified. So once you are saying that, once the people, the citizens of Ghana are saying that that policy, there's no equity, there's no fairness, there's no parity in that, then we have to go back to the drawing board and revise it positively for the citizens of Ghana, because the larger right resides in us, and that's what we are expressing now. Let me tell you, like asking Charles Abiakubi as to whether they have been complaining, those who are not complying to that. It's not that the GRA do not know these people. It is in their law that they are not to charge everybody, and that those who do not have the threshold up to 200,000 do not qualify to be in the tax administration. So it is legitimate for people not to charge the VAT. That is simple. So we have three systems of VAT: those who are paying the standard rate, those who are paying the flat rate of 4%, and those who are not paying. And then there's no compulsion on the part of the final buyer or the consuming public to insist on VAT invoice. There's no compulsion on that. And so I should not be a victim and have to fight for my right until the tax system is uniform, make uniformed for all us to comply, and for government to have its bit, and for us also to have our peace and security to do our business.
Doc, in his suggestion to government on how to solve this problem, Mr. Apiakubi suggested that these taxes, excluding the income tax and the payee and all that, can be taken at source, i.e. the port of entry and the manufacturing points. But I know that Guta has had reason to complain about import duties and how it's becoming extremely expensive for importers to pay duty and all. Do you agree with his suggestion, and how will it play out in that angle?
Yeah, the duty is already high. They charge all manner of things at the port. If you have something at the source, our problems is solved. Those cumulative effects is all gone. But he was not saying that the PAYE should be added to the port. No, he was saying that those things will be paid.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes, that is the same thing I'm saying. I'm not saying
the corporate taxes will be paid by us. But he's saying that the taxes that is relating to VAT, that's the national health and all that, be compounded and taken as source. And this argument has been done especially for the essential commodities, you understand? and those items, the provisions and all that, the cascading effect is too big. You know, when the imported goods come, or when you are buying from the Unilever is assumed maybe the manufacturer, and then he charges the VAT to you, to the distributor. Then the distributor also charges the VAT to the wholesaler. The wholesaler charges the VAT to the retailer who is at Okanshi and Makola. And then the people from Kaswa and other places come and buy from these retailers. So the cascading effect is about 6. And that one doesn't help essential commodities, especially their profits. So we've talked about this, that some simplified system should be adopted in this area. And then in the larger picture, that's why we came with even the flat rate, and the flat rate was being adopted. And 5 years we have been using the flat rate without any problems. Government was exceeding its revenue target. Till this year, when they say that we are being migrated to the standard rate, and that it has created this mirage of problems for us. You understand? So it's not that we are not being supportive to the Ghana Revenue Authority. We do educative programs with them and all that. Sometimes they tell us that some of these things are beyond them, and that it has the policymakers have to do something about it. Right. And that when we have done and tried all efforts, that they bring uniformity into the tax system, they bring affordability into the tax system, because any tax that is not affordable, compliance level is virtually nil. And so we have to make sure that we do not impose taxes on us, like the consultant is saying. That taxes, before they designed, it should be designed with the people who are going to charge the tax for you. And then the consultant was also saying that when we charge the tax, is the final consumer who bears the brunt. Yes, we admit. And then the final consumer also has a discretion that once you are paying the higher VAT, I will not come and buy from you. Once you are paying the flat rate of 4%, I will not come and buy from you. I'll go and buy from the person who do not charge the VAT. And so what is made up of the people who are complying with the law? We are dead, and we are finished. And that's what it means. And so it is very important that we sit down around this, because we've written letters upon letters upon letters. And we follow up, and it's not that we do not follow up. We've copied it to all those who matters in the tax administration in this country. And then it has come to this far, where we have closed our shops. So it is not that we are taking a delight in closing our shops, because we are losing, at least, like you questioned. But sometimes you have to lose something to gain something, isn't it? And that's what exactly we are doing.
Ponsa Boateng, who you've referred to so much in your latest submission, for his quick thoughts on your suggestion to government on taking the VAT and the NHIL at source. Mr. Ponsa Boateng, Dr. Obi,
I didn't get the question.
Oh no, so we've heard from Mr. Piakubi, and Dr. Obi agrees with him that in order to deal with some of these things and reduce the cascading effect, the VAT and the NHIL should be charged at source, i.e. the ports of entry and the manufacturing site, so that the manufacturer doesn't charge VAT on the same product and the distributor charges VAT on the same product to the retailer, and the retailer, you get it. And so it goes on and on and on and on and on. Do you agree that that will help in solving this particular situation?
Oh, okay. I think that we have both be talking about fairness and equity. And rightly so, when the Guta president said that if the VAT, somebody is on the flat rate and somebody is on the standard rate, and there's even somebody who, because of the turnover, that person is not even supposed to register with VAT, then the consumer will be buying from the one that hasn't registered with VAT. Okay, and then if somebody wants to buy from a VAT-registered person. Of course, the person is going in for somebody who on flat rate. So these are the issues that I think that the GRA officials or the Commissioner General has to look at, because in my opinion, when that happens, then there is an imbalance. Some of them tend to gain, others will also lose. So why don't we make sure that we have a uniform, simplified tax administration system? Because when that one is in place, then of course people are going to be tax compliant.
Right.
And some of these issues that they are having now would not come up.
Mr. Bosa, sorry to interject, but my basic understanding of what Dr. Obeng and Mr. Appiah-Kubi have been saying is that with what plays out in the market now, government is earning more, because if, as a manufacturer, the distributor pays VAT to me, then the retailer pays VAT to and he pays VAT on the product when the distributor gives it to him, and then it goes on and on and on, which means government will earn more, and than when it is charged at source. Do you ever think that any government will agree to this policy?
Unfortunately, that is the law. So, for example, when you talk about withholding taxes, so long as the activity continues, at each point, the tax will be paid. And so at the end of the day, that is why the government makes a lot of money. But if we look at the effect on the businessman or the stakeholders, and it is not helping them in what they do, then we have to make sure that we amend the tax law to ensure that equity and fairness that we are all looking for. And so I support him. But like you've mentioned, it has to go through Parliament and all that. And so if government can assure them that, yes, we are going to take the steps to ensure that this is done, I'm sure that everybody will be happy. And then at the end of the day, Ghana as a nation is going to benefit. So yes, I agree with him. I agree with him 100%.
Thank you for your time here this morning. Eric Amponsah is a tax consultant. Let me wrap up with my two other guests. And let me start with you, Mr. Appiah-Kubi. Are you able to tell us, you mentioned that there are businesses that have collapsed and there are those that are on the brink of collapse. Are you able to tell us, off the top of your head, how many businesses under the Ashanti business community have folded up or are in the process of doing so? Can you kindly unmute? Sorry, your device is muted.
Okay, thank you. To be candid, majority of our businesses are collapsing. You see, when you look at the value chain, the wholesaler, which have become a prime target when it comes to this VAT system.
Hello, Mr. Appiah-Kubi.
When his business is down, there's a meeting tomorrow and there's no good for you to pay for me. And probably I'll be giving you supply credit. You can't take it from any other way. So your business starts going down.
Well, we seem to have a challenge with Mr. Appiah-Kubi's line. Let me pose that same question to Dr. Obeng, if he's still with us, President of GUTA. Are you able to tell us...
challenges we are in now.
Sorry, Mr. Appiah-Kubi, we lost you. Your connection was bad. I'm asking for numbers. If you're able to, if you're not, that's fine. But are you able to give us any numbers of businesses that have collapsed or are in the process of doing so?
As we speak, about 60% of the key players in the industry are out. And there are more counting.
And when you say key players in the industry, what do you mean? Does that include...
the wholesale.
You're talking about the wholesale. Okay.
Yes. About 60% are already off from the market. So you have an idea, the little that are left are the retail market. And our survival rate is going down. That is what has compelled us to close our shop from Monday up to now.
Okay. We wish you all the best with your engagement with government on how to resolve this matter. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let me quickly wrap up with Dr. Joseph Obeng, who is with GUTA. Doc, we know the finance minister is in America now, trying to finalize talks with the IMF on getting that bailout government badly needs. There are people who have had, reason to suggest to the IMF, for example, Akwesi Odayo-Dike, who says that he will write to the IMF to make ending illegal mining a conditionality for giving government this bailout. Have you attempted to reach the IMF on your concerns as well as GUTA?
Yeah, what I would say is that whatever measures that IMF is going to take shouldn't come to worsen our plight. And that they should look at the current situation where we are even crying, and then because you do not bring solution and for the solution to worsen our plight, it means that the effect of IMF is not being felt. And I don't believe IMF is only there to punish us. And then also, we are also telling IMF to also, like the gentleman have also professed, that whatever amount that is going to be brought into this country, if we do not look at the structural problems that we have in, the leakages in the system, then this money is coming and then is going to be swallowed by the pythons, the hyenas, and the vultures in the system. So our investment laws should be looked at, and they should also make it compulsory that we should tighten the loose end that let this money drain. So it's not about the money that is coming in, but it's about how fast it's going to be drained out. Because we have investment laws that just allow dumping, that allows people like China more bringing goods for the forest. So we have to be able to tighten those things. That if you should come and trade in this country, a foreign or giants like China and all that, then they should bring the corresponding fund for which they will bring deposits in the country and then use it to import the goods. Otherwise, whatever thing that we are doing is going to be just swallowed by these same people who command. Because in our market today, about 30% of the entirety of the trading that we do have gone to this China mall. Because the idea and the other Chinese traders here. Because the idea is that we go to China and buy the goods. So once the Chinese are here, then all Ghanaians should go and buy from them. That's why you go and see the queue. And yet they do not even pay their taxes. And this is what we've been talking about. This was the golden opportunity for Ghana government to even close down that shop forever. Cease their license. Because it's so negative to the economy of the country. And so we have to put, the IMF should also put those conditions to it, that we should amend our investment laws to tighten the leakages. Now, if you look at the service industry and all that, there's no retention policy. The service industry is taking a chunk. And then we do not have local retention because our local component in the banking system is just minimized to about 3 or 4 banks. All the rest is going to their mother countries and all that. The monies are being siphoned. And the money that is coming from the service industry is more than the importation that we do, if you do not know. The money alone that comes from communication, the money that comes from the banks, put together is more than the import that we do. And so normally we say that we do excessive importation. That's our woes, our problem. So we have to tighten our laws, and that the structural defect that we have should be sealed. And after we've sealed it, then whatever money that they will bring will be sustained, and then we'll be able to ensure stability. Otherwise, they will bring it, and then the highness, the pythons, and what have you, will swallow it whole.
Finally and briefly, we know the government has tried to stabilize the cedi. There was some intervention, some loans acquired. We saw the cedi stabilize for just about a week and a half, and then we are back on a downward trend again. We are being told by some that we should expect the dollar to CD to hit 12 CD for $1 by the end of the year. What is your assessment of government's handling of this situation, briefly?
Yeah, I think that all that I don't want to do is to even speculate, because if I do speculation and say that because the trend is that is getting to Christmas and then we are expecting that the dollar should go up, then I'm fueling in speculation. And speculation has been part of the problem that we are facing now. And so I'm not one of them that will say that we are expecting that this thing will go to this level. But then the management of the CD by Bank of Ghana and government at that have not been helpful because they are not taking the pragmatic efforts to make sure that the leakages, because our problem had not been the supply of the dollar, because if it was the supply, $750 million came and it couldn't sustain us for 3 days. The problem had been the leakages and all that I was talking about. Right. So we should think outside the box and find pragmatic ways to seal out all the loopholes to ensure that we stabilize the city. Otherwise, this thing is going to bring a lot of agitations that is not going to be comfortable for the governance of this country, because legitimately so, people's capital will be dying, and that they wouldn't have any way to address it than to agitate. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time this morning, Dr. Joseph Obing is president of GUTA, and he, together with Mr. Apiakubi and Mr. Eric Amponsa, have been discussing the issue in Kumasi and the GRA's efforts to gather more revenue for government. It's day 3 of closure of shops in Kumasi by business owners themselves, because they say times are hard and their businesses are crippling. I must add that we reached the GRA. It says it won't comment for now, but later we should expect to hear from the outfit. Also on the show, we will be going back to the Weija enclave to assess what's happening now after the floods that destroyed some property and even leading to the loss of a life. Benjamin Akakpo is there for us, and he will be joining us shortly, also because we know that the Ghana Water Company Limited is warning residents around the buffer zones around the Weija Dam to vacate because the Ghana Metro is predicting more rains. But it's time now for AM Business, Ketsi EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Today, James Ishan speaks to business owners who are complaining about high interest rates on loans due to recent hike in policy rates.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana recently increased the policy rate by 250 basis points to 24.5%. This is the highest policy rate increase since 2017. The rate hike means it will become more expensive to borrow from banks, a situation that will push the cost of living and doing business in the country further up. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, explained that the committee reached the decision in order to check the rising rate of inflation as the country negotiates with the International Monetary Fund for an economic program.
If you listen to the press release that the central bank assesses the situation as suboptimal, right? This is not the optimal thing to do. But under the circumstances, until we agree on the program with the fund, right, we have to contain the situation. The government machinery must work, and therefore we have to help the government machinery to go on whilst we address the larger macroeconomic imbalances, depending on the policies that are agreed and under the fund program. We are late by their assessment, which I also disagree with, because if you would recollect, we started this policy tightening as far back as November 2021, right? It wasn't in January when we got locked out of the market that the MPC started tightening rates. We had already foreseen, issues of prices rising. And therefore, in November 2021, we did our first tightening of the monetary policy rate. We were even ahead of the Fed and some of the more advanced countries in tightening our policy rate.
But how does this affect the everyday Ghanaian who is struggling to sustain his or her business? On one of my visits to the Domi market, I engaged some small business owners on what the increase means to them. For Maefia, taxes on goods should be tackled first. She explains that this may be a way to control inflation, but it's having a great effect on their businesses.
The interest rate in a cost bank where you loan and no interest in your money bobe bafo. Say me kwaji a loan, na say interest rate in a wasra. Me make sure say money mana me turn so be cost say de be ye menye sika e de atu loan. It is an interest rate in a cost no kra de be say asam na kra.
Policy rate hikes to me won't help control inflation because if I go for loans from banks with higher interest rates, that will continue to push up the goods in the markets. The taxes on goods now is high. We are pleading with the authorities to relook at the taxes on goods. Accessing loans these days is difficult to come by compared to years ago. The processes involved is just stressful, which may call for you to give up on acquiring a loan.
Yes, say yama enema boy den dodo. Tax no yes rempanim for omunye bibi mfa homayen na mahia for brepa. Esan say enema na ye bekwa akofan. Esan say tax na ye bebre wo port ho na enipa ntimi ntua nti de ye begine no nipa ne ba obe make sure so de ni nyina obe chegu niema ne so ntama ye kofa niema ne so ama niema ne bo no kwa na ekosoro nti yesre omunhwe ho bibi nyama yen na omunye bibi wo ho atimi ama niema ne bo abafo mama man timamufo no yen so ye ho atoyen se de loan je no ena form sa enti se first ya na banks no yengugu no atwa ye ho ahia GN bank wo ho unique credit ofa ha ya ma okakra say na ntisa ye do be fa process bebre mu ma wo be wie na waba mu kura abu baba mu abu kura se loan wo kwa akwaje nso so ade da so no say kura ye ntimi ntua no masa mosan pagam ene na adwadifo ma ade iti ate afri so ano no.
With reports that some banks in the country have begun suspending loans to new and some existing customers, Paul is one of such persons affected by the development. Paul says it's disheartening to have such development. He called for proper measures to sustain local businesses.
Oh, okay. Actually, with the interest rate of going up is very bad for we, the small holding business, because let's say you go in for bank, you go in for, let's say, amount of money and you want to work with it. Imagine they give you amount of money like, let's say, 10,000 Ghana cedis to come and work with it. And later you go in, the interest rate is higher than compared to the old time. I mean, you can sell 10 boxes of, let's say, staffs. And later on, when you are going to buy these 10 boxes, you cannot even buy the 10 boxes again with the money that you went for. Because as soon as you finish selling, the goods go high. So let's say you can buy 10 boxes of, let's say this April, you can buy 10 bucks. Later on, you go back again, you are going to buy the amount of money you used to buy the 10 bucks for the old previous one. Cannot buy. You have to buy like 8. And when you want to go back and pay for this bank loan, it doesn't make sense. After all, you are really going to lose. And when you lose too, you don't get any income in it. Like, I don't know if I'm making sense though, but the bank rate, that is the policy they're bringing out right now, is very bad, and it's really going to affect us with the smallholders in business.
But they are saying they are using this to control inflation.
With them, they are going to benefit. With them, they are going to benefit. But me doing the business here, every blessed day, you will sell. The next day, you go back for the goods. The prices have increased. So just you should understand me. Things are always increasing in Ghana. For let's say this year, things have been increasing every blessed week. At least the longest period is 1 month. Every month something will increase. So the bank rate and the interest they are put on is very bad, and we cannot compete with it.
So you find yourself in the MSME space, that the small business space. What do you think can be done?
The bank rate, they should do something about it. their demand is very high. The interest they are putting on is too much. Is very, very bad for us. We the small business holders.
Madam Patience is complaining about the processes and bureaucracy involved in securing loans for their businesses.
Banks no interest rates in the cost right. Then ya be affected because your profit na e be nya no. Na chese ni nyina e bank no. And yet me nya adwuma so emfa profit ni nyina emfa nkoma bank no. Nti ne enso ye de beto ne oma no so. Nti ne oma no bo be kosro. Nti ne consumer no e na bebe. Because me makoji loan na. Me nya adwuma enka se me the profit ni nyina e kwa akoma.
If the interest rates are high on loans, it means customers will have to suffer because, as sellers, we can't afford to run at a loss. In this case, because we want to sustain our businesses and keep up with the interest rates on the loans, we should have no option than to continue increasing the price of goods, which means inflation will continue to soar. Going for loans these days isn't flexible with the collateral, and all it's very difficult. Government should intervene with soft loans.
Say a bina casabit my soft loans beer ever boy. Na and only enco bank enco near interest no was true. Into say a bina bit me my market women soft loans beer a very flexible my interest no so and yet too higher ever boy now.
Many are of the view that if things continue this way, most businesses risk collapse in the country. Madam Ajwa is one such example.
Nemeti me aka say how dey be high because we say akwaji loan e dey adwuma na interest na da so ne so nche say akwa say adwuma no wo ye dey ama bank no wo nya hwe wo if you say interest ni na abesan akwa di bank ni nchen enti boa dey emmoa nti say bibi ho mbetimi aye dey aboa ye ya nke be boa because interest ne ba for mo no kwa wo betimi akwaje ne kase watimi afa ne ma na dodo na so ton awanya kakra na bank no so akwaje loan no mo no so mo nya mo profit ne kakra.
It appears we are now working for the banks because with the high interest on lending rates, they take all our profits, which is very bad. The rate at which prices on goods and services increase is very disturbing. Within every 2 weeks, we end up having prices of goods shooting up.
Oh, I come here and say every 2 weeks price increase. There are new prices every 2 weeks. Acha 2 weeks we are more increasing them. Just say most of the products near monthly. But now you pay every 2 weeks price changing.
The central bank increased the policy rate by 2.5% on March 25, 2022 to 17% and subsequently increased it on May 23, 2022 to 19%. It again adjusted it upwards by 300 basis points to 22% in August 2022. The Bank of Ghana also said short-term interest rates on the money market have reflected recent development, while medium-term to long-term rates have remained relatively behind the yield curve. For example, while the discount rate on the 91-day instrument has increased to 29.7% in September 2022 from 12.5% in September 2021, the coupon rate on the 7-year, 10-year, 15-year and 20-year have remained unchanged at 18.1%, 19.8%, 20.0% and 20.2% respectively. The interbank market weighted average rate increased to 22.5% in September 2022 from 12.61% in September 2021, consistent with the rise in the policy rate. Average lending rate of banks have also adjusted upwards to 29.81% in September 2022 from 20.20% recorded in the corresponding period of 2021.
It's a few minutes to the top of the hour. Thank you so much for staying here on the AM show with me, Bernice Abubedu-Lansa. Let's now take you to Weija, where Benjamin Akakpo is on standby to bring us the latest on the aftermath of recent floods that caused a loss of life and properties. We are told that there could be another flood due to predictions by the Ghana Meteorological Agency. And the Ghana Water Company Limited says it's not to blame for what we saw sometime last week. And so residents are being cautioned and being asked to evacuate, especially those close to the buffer zone area. Hello, Benjamin. What have you observed today?
Well, Bernice, we're here in Old Tetegu. And of course, you know that as far as the spillage is concerned, all of these communities, Oblogo, Tetegu, the Weija area, were all affected. Well, today we find ourselves at the Old Tetegu taxi rank. You can see a car here being worked on. But we've also put together some opinion leaders in the community, those who are affected, and we're about to talk about the critical issues. So we are starting here with this gentleman. Good morning.
Elias Ariaman.
Please take your time. Let's start with your name.
Yeah, my name is Bernard Elias Ariaman.
Okay, so Bernard, tell us about what happened last week, the flooding, how it happened, and what people in the community, what do you think?
Yeah, actually the whole thing happened impromptu. Normally when it was coming, they have to give us information, but this very one, no information reached us. We were just in the house, all of a sudden then the water started coming. Then they told us that they have spilled Weija Dam. So actually we were there within some few minutes, our house rooms are all affected. So we have...
You mean in a matter of minutes?
With a matter of minutes, I can say. All of a sudden, the place was flooded. People were carrying their things out. Some of them, they were not able to carry their things out. Everything was completely spoiled in their rooms. That's how the whole thing happened. But the most important thing we wanted from the government is that whenever they are going to spill, they have to give us information. And then they marked to the seaside to see whether the place which has been blocked with the sun will be open, so that when they spill, it can pass through there straight to the sea and will not be affected. That's the most important thing they have to do first. They have to watch all over there and see whether the place is locked up, Botiano, is open. Then we can see something better.
So you're saying that we hear that in April, they made mention to you, the Ghana Water Company Limited. There was a spillage then. But you're saying that in this instance, there was no alert?
No alert at all. They didn't inform us anything. The water just started coming, just like that.
After this happened, now at least the flood waters have receded. We went deep into the town and realized that some places you would see that the bottom part, I think you can even see from here, where the watermark. What has been the impact of this on this community?
No, actually, we were very, very worried. We wanted the government actually to come in our aid to help, to see how we can. Because when we went far to ask, they said this place is a waterlogged, and then it's what they said they call the place. This place is just for birds to be rearing birds all over here. So it means they don't bother us at all. But when it is time for voting and other things, they bring their balloting boxes, very big ones. Then we vote for them. Even when it happened, our main woman who is supposed to be the MP to visit us, he never visited us.
You're talking about Tina?
Tina. He never visited us to see what is actually happening. So we are just there like that.
Interesting comments coming through from an opinion leader. Please let me just sit in between you and also bring in my brother here, Mr. Gbomita, right?
Yeah,
okay, so Achuk Gbomita, thank you for joining the conversation. For you, what do you think about everything that happened here? And since it happened, what was the impact? How have you been coping?
To be honest with you, we've been in this for, let me say, for decades.
How long have you lived here?
I've lived here for the past 30 years plus. And the last time I noticed this was 1991, the first time, wow, which was very serious. people were out of the place because they were informed that the dam was going to be spilled. And, you know, they would find a way to evacuate, you see. And sometimes where around 97, you know, it used to happen. But by then there was, some sort of coordinating between the Ghana water and the community. Right. You see, they do bring their vehicle and then sit with the opinion leaders. And at the end of the day, the opinion leaders also relay to the community. And then, you know, what we have to do, we do it. But this time around, it was so serious. And, you know, for all you know, Ghana Water has given meters to people living here. We are all connected to the, Ghana Water Company in this thing. And therefore, if there is anything, we are customers. The customer is always right. They have to, deal with less like customers. But they can't just build it and then, you know, everything come to a halt. There was no business. Cars could not move. People were, you know, stuck in their rooms. We have to use the canoe to evacuate some of them, which was bad.
Should this happen again, how will you be able to cope?
I don't think it should happen again.
But you know, they've told us that if the rain continues heavily in the eastern region, it will also mean that once it shoots up to capacity, the Weija Dam, they will have to spill again. How are you going to cope?
Well, as we manage to cope with this, I know when we get there, we cross that one too.
That brings me to the question. You were telling me earlier about dredging and how there was a plan all the way through the Bojo Beach area to create a channel, dredge so that when the Densu, you know, they spill, it would go directly into the sea. When was this? What happened to that plan?
Yeah, that's very true. I learned from some of my elders that was a plan, a laid-down plan, and was even sponsored by the World Bank.
Sponsored by the World Bank. How long ago? Do you have an idea?
I don't have an idea, but I was told that was the plan. So that dredging could be from the main dam down to the Bojo Beach, down to the Bojo Canal. That's where it passes into the sea. But nothing of that sort has been mentioned. As at now, we don't know how that project, how it ended. You see, there are a lot of things a lot of questions we need to ask. This is one major, river that has left. This is the only one left within the Greater Accra region, because the other ones are all dead. It has been turned into a gutter. They need to do something to, preserve this one for the future generation to come and see. Yes, because I wasn't old enough when the Koli and then the Odo rivers were alive with fish in them. But at least I've seen this one. Right. So the next generation also need to witness it. But not that the river will come and then destroy us. Those people that are supposed to benefit from it, it's rather come out to destroy them, their properties, which is too bad. They need to do something about it.
Something needs to be done about it. But how about you? It's also been said that you can do something by way of leaving this community. Some have said that you are not supposed to be here in the first place. How do you react?
No, we are supposed to be here. If we weren't supposed to be here, Ghana Water wouldn't have given us meters for us to be paying, tax to the government.
But you do admit that if you have buildings on waterways, if you have buildings, some of them not properly located and all of that, that is part of the problem, right?
Tetegu is a well-planned community. There is no building on any waterway. Our people have lived here for the past more than 300 years. They've lived here, they go in, they come back. And we are still living here. Tetegu is part of the Weija-Gbawe electoral area. So we have the right to live here. They shouldn't say, those days that our people were living here, why didn't they tell them that they are not supposed to live here? We've lived here, people have building permits, registered their lands, and they are telling them we are not supposed to live here. That's not true. You have the right to live here.
In fact, some of you talk about the fact that you had been living here for a long time, your ancestors, even before the dam was put up.
My mother was born here, attended Weija School, completed here, and has been living here ever since. Yeah. So we have the right to live here.
And so there is no plan to move, regardless of how bad the situation gets. You have no plan to leave this community.
No, I don't think. No, it's not. This is not any big deal. This we've witnessed it before, and I don't think it is something that will be based on for us to leave this place. No, it is up to them to know how to control the spillage. That's all.
Okay.
When they control it well, it will not affect anybody.
All right. Just hold for me, Mr. Gbomita. I'll come back to you as we talk about solutions, and I'll come back to you as well. You're a former assemblyman, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a former assemblyman, an opinion leader. Let me also interact with another key opinion leader in this community. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
What's your name?
My name is Weija-Gbawe.
Okay, all right. So, Weija, you've heard some of the issues I've already discussed with your community members. I've noticed that a lot of those here are Ewe. They speak Ewe. What's the history? I see that you know a lot about the history. How come?
Yes, this community is founded by Ewes, the Ewes. So that is the main reason why this is an Ewe community. But now it has turned into a cosmopolitan community.
Okay. And on the subject of relocation, what do you think about it?
On the subject of relocation, Tetegu, we are not ready to move anywhere. Because one, why are we moving? What is the reason? What are the reasons behind someone telling us to move from here? Because one, this community was founded way back about 200 years before even the dam that is causing us now was built. Okay, Tetegu was founded somewhere around 1737 up to 1978 before this dam was built. So Tetegu is more than 200 years older than the dam that was built. And even if I should say, there were some 2-3 communities that I can say are older than Tetegu when it comes to the downstream, which is Aplaku, Weija, and Gbawe. So before they built the dam, these people, the government came to meet chiefs and other people, opinion leaders then around this area. And they even entered into an agreement with some of the chiefs to compensate the people downstream because of the dam that they are building. If I'm not lying, Antonyami, the Weija chief, was the one who led that negotiation, and they were supposed to pay some compensations.
How long ago was this?
This, I should say, in the 1960s, when they started the project. So you can ask Ghana Water whether they've even been able to pay those compensations that they were supposed to pay. Now, if I'm staying somewhere and you did your project, okay, you did your...
But is it there? It is your project. It is a project for all of us. I mean, so many millions of people get water in Accra from the Weija Dam.
So should I be sacrificed? Should I be victimized for you sacrificing me every year? That you spill the excess of water to pass through my area to go into the sea. And the most painful thing is that there are maintenance components attached to the dam. When they built the dam, they were supposed to dredge the river every 10 years because they know very well that through the spillage there will be sand deposit in the river, which the former depth of the river, which is 25 feet, has now closed.
It has changed.
It has changed. You cannot even get up to 10 feet now in our rivers. So when the water comes, it easily overflow. So ask them from 78 that they built that dam, whether how many times they've been able to dredge it up to date. And then they were supposed to make the, how do we call it, the lagoon, which you can find at Chokome, Bojo Beach. Right. They are supposed to make it open, like the Kole Lagoon, so that at the end of the day, every water that they spill will just go into the sea without worrying the people downstream. But those things are not done. And even when they spill the water, one painful thing is that they will not even come and then see the plight of the people see whether we are okay, how we are surviving. Nothing of that sort will be done. So it's like they intentionally do the thing and then come and be blaming us. The water that comes into the dam normally comes from the eastern region. When they have excess of rainfall, it comes into how do we call it, Isawam, and then draw back to the dam. So as someone who works at Ghana Water, operation directors, the managers, and the rest, what have you, if you are not sitting in the comfort of your office and you monitor the situation well, recently we knew that before they spilled this river, Chebi was flooded. Koforidua, Almighty Koforidua, the entire community was flooded because of rainfall. Here we don't face flood when it's rain. We don't have, like you can see, we don't have drainage system, we don't have anything. But when it's rain, we don't face any problem. But for them, they have everything that they need. But when it's rain, they face the problem. The water comes into the Weija Dam, they spill it here. Okay, so are we the ones causing it? Or they are the ones causing it? Those who are saying that Tetegu is not a place for people to stay. So what about those who just common rain from the heaven, natural one, get them flooded? Then it means their place is the problem. We do not have any problem here when it rains. You can ask anywhere.
So the bit about your being on the course as far as the Dinsu is, it places you in a precarious situation. It's not going to be easy. It means that every time it's spilled, and now like I mentioned, we've been told that if the Weija Dam gets full again, and it's pretty high up there in terms of the feet, they would spill. Don't you think that is reason enough for you to maybe judge with government to arrive at some solution?
We've done that. We've done that. I think if I can remember, myself as unit committee chairman then, with my assembly member, Honorable Asantua, we wrote a letter to Hydrological Service, Ghana Water Company, the Municipal Assembly, and they delegated a Hydrological Service to come here. They came, we took them around and showed them all the problems that we were facing here. Okay? And they promised us coming to our aid.
How long ago was this?
2017. 2017. So 2019, I realized Hydro started some dredging. They dredged only from the main Kasua bridge. That is where they dredged and then left the rest of the work. And the information we had is that the project was funded by World Bank. So they should have continued the dredging. And then the sand that they are getting from the river, they use it to embank the river so that the water will not overflow into the community. But that was not done. It was not completed. Ask them where the funds go. Those in charge, whether as a hydrological service, whether they were not here with coastal development agencies and or what have you. They were here. We sat under this tree with the chiefs and elders of the community and made sure we take them around and show them the problems. But nothing was done about it. My senior former assemblyman, Honorable Bernard Platonu, they did what they can do during their time as senior men in the community until we also came to take over from them. But nothing was done about the whole situation. It's only about, let's do it. When we do it, we can have a cover-up and say that the place is not meant for human beings. This place...
You call it a cover-up?
Yes, it's a cover-up.
By whom?
By the authorities. Because now, what they did now, they informed us in April that they will spill the river. They spilled it about 2 months. It was gone. Everything was gone. Then came this one. Nobody was informed. We were not given prior notice about it. One Sunday, just last week Sunday, we were there, and then we realized that from 10:30, 11 thereabouts, the water started coming into people's home. So we wake up in the morning and the whole community started submerging.
Wait, so you are assemblyman. You are telling me that you had no idea?
I'm not an assemblyman. I'm a former unit committee chairman, former development and service chairman to the Weija Zonal Council, and an assembly aspirant during the last election.
Okay, so you are an aspirant.
I'm a youth leader here.
And members of the community, I mean, I've spoken to the former assemblyman and other people. All of you are singing one, song. You were not aware.
We were not aware about this very one, this very spillage. We were not aware. We were not informed. And one painful thing is that when this whole thing happened, we have our MP, who is a Deputy Minister of Health, Honorable Tinana Ile Mensah, who reside here with us in Tetegu. But till date, before, during, and after the flood, she has not even moved. It's just a walking distance from here. But she has not even moved to even ask us how we were feeling. During the flood, we, the youth, have to, feed the lot of people, the stranded people, with our own pocket here, just right here. At that spot, the black spot there. Cameraman, you can take it. That is where we cook and share to all those who were stranded here.
So you mean that place where there's a lot of burn marks there, that's where you were cooking?
That is where we cook. We go out there and bring food and come and cook to the teeming stranded people who they can only find this place as a safe place. You see, no government official came to our aid. You see,
did you receive any help from NADMO? Did NADMO officials come here?
NADMO officials, I should say, I'm very grateful to them, because even though they've not given us any relief item, they were here and they came to assess the situation. That was how it got to their notice that the estuary where the water has to pass before getting into the sea was not open, that they should do something about it. And they were very, very swift with it. They worked throughout the night to be able to open that estuary. And on a daytime, we called them again. Me personally, with some of the youth, about 10 or 15 of us, went with them again to show them that although they work overnight, but the work they did cannot help us, help the situation. So we have to help them expand the estuary for it to be able to open more, which draw the water out of the community, all the communities before us. Because SCC was flooded, White Cross, Dansoma, Aplaku, Sampa Valley, part of Chokome, and a whole lot, Oblogo, Weija. All those communities were flooded. But I don't know why people are putting the red light on Tetegu, that we are not supposed to be here. And I'm telling them today that Tetegu will be here and make sure that the next time anything like this happen, we will make sure we take Ghana Water to court to pay the damages.
All right. So you would realize that in this community, lots of buildings were affected. When we went to the other side, we saw lots of those communities and you can see the rain mark, the water mark. Here, it is very low, but when you go in there, you would see some of them about 4 or 5 blocks high. They were still, you can see the water mark there. I just want to find out from you. So you would see that if it keeps on like this, eventually the structures here are going to be affected. When you look all around you, the structures here are going to be affected. What are you going to do about that? Eventually it could lead to some buildings collapsing. What are you going to do?
Yes, even with this, some buildings collapsed, some walls collapsed, including my own.
Your building collapsed?
No, not building,
the wall.
My wall. Okay.
Where do you stay?
I stay on this lane, which is about a kilometer away from the river. But my house my wall got damaged, and even my things in my room, everything got damaged because one, I was focused on saving the people without recourse to my home getting flooded. Because as a youth leader, when this thing happens, you have to make sure you rescue the people, okay? Because I was able to, evacuate my wife and my kids, the entire focus became on the people. Those who are trapped in the water, how do we bring them to a safe haven and all those stuff. So leading to it, after the whole thing, I got home and my things were damaged. But look, the truth is, if they manage how to spill the river, we will also, if they manage how to spill the dam, we will have our peace of mind. Because like this one, when they realize that the eastern region is having problem, and they started opening, how do we call it, spilling the one in the dam to go before this one comes, like we would have been saved now.
All right, let me just give you a bit of a view of the community. I see this vehicle coming. We'll be coming back to wrap up with the solutions, but all the way across that bridge entering this community was flooded. In fact, if you had to come into this community, you would have to use a canoe. There was no life here, no one was going out. If you had to move, you had to use a canoe until after some days the waters had receded. And that is where, as he was pointing to, this is where the cooking was ongoing. This is where members of the community, we brought you some of that footage when the flooding happened. And you can wire and, copper and all of that. This is where the cooking happened, just to keep body and soul together for members of the community. Now, you can even look at this wall right here, this green building. You can see at the bottom the watermark. That is what the flooding did to this community. No one could come out. Basically, if you were inside, you were trapped. And you can still see, at least in this direction where the sheep are passing, you can still see that the place is a bit wet. That is what this community in Old Tetegu had to go through. And so we're here today gauging the mood of community members, and they have made it loud and clear that, in fact, they are not leaving this place. They are not going anywhere. This is their home, and they just want the right things to be done. AKA, one, the Ghana Water Company Limited must ensure that when spilling is going to be done, they are actually informed. Let's come over. I see some workers in this area that I'll just try to engage with. Senior, good morning all. Do you live in this community?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Yes, I've not moved in yet.
You've not moved in yet, but you're moving in here?
Sure.
Okay, so that's an interesting one. Some are crying that the community is on fire and you are now moving in. What do you think about the latest flooding situation? What happened here and all of that? What do you make of it?
It was very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. I think the whole thing happened unexpectedly. Normally when they are going to spill, they tell, they inform the community this is going to happen. For the past days, it hasn't been like this. I mean, past years. When they spill, it comes, but like at a very low level. Yeah, but I think the last time this thing happened was in '92. About 33 years over, but this one was just too much. Yeah. So it happened unexpectedly. That's why a lot of people lost a lot of their properties, yes. But there are some areas that are high. It didn't actually get to anybody's room. But, you can actually come out and walk because of the level of the water, yes.
So as you move here, I'm sure this is a concern for you. What is your plan?
My plan is just to raise my building because I know the level, just in case in the near future anything like that happens. Yeah, I have a house here, but actually it wasn't flooded. Water didn't because it was raised. People that are very low, there were people that were more affected. Yeah, but people with the high raising ones, it's just the compounds. Yeah.
In terms of solutions, political leadership, what do you think can be done?
I think it's not a difficult thing because looking at I think it has to do with the estuary. Because normally when they are going to spill, it has its root. So this thing wasn't opened. Normally they have to open the estuary to make it flow. And then I think it has to do with mud. They have to actually distill.
So dredging must happen.
You get me? Yes, because the whole place is filled with sand when you look at the river or whatever it is. It's all sand. The depth is very, shallow. It's not deep. And then I don't think this thing should continue happening. There should be a way out. Either government finds a solution, either make another dam. You get me? Then anytime it's full, the spill, it goes in there. When it's dry season, because I know very soon Ghana Water will be complaining there's no water to supply people.
So we could even harvest this?
Exactly. So must we always continue when it's full, we spill and spill and spill? You can't continue doing that. There has to be a way. Let's find a solution that anytime we spill, it goes in there and we store it. When it's dry season and the rains are off, we can use that. Even people can use that for irrigation, farming and other things. You get me? So I think this is the way out.
What's your name though?
Alaji.
Alaji, thank you so much for interacting with us. So this is what we're going to do. We're getting back into the studio, but we're still here in the Old Tetegu community, and we'll be right back here to confer with others about the way forward, the solutions, so to speak. But back to you, Bernice, in the studio.
The African in me just comes out when I hear that sound. But it was a great comeback for Yasantua girls yesterday, and they won by 2 points, but it was a good one. Ebri girls suffered, unfortunately, and couldn't make it to the 1/8 stage of the competition. It's getting exciting by the day, and even as we prepare to cross over to Kumasi, I've got two lovely guests. One you know, if you've been watching the show since Monday, but Dr. Lucy Ejapong is the new addition today. She is Associate Dean of Engineering at Academic City University College. I've also got Samuel Nateajo, who is Associate Client Service Director for Prime Time Limited. Let me welcome you, Lucy. Samuel is now a homeboy. So
he's a veteran.
So he knows how to do it. But have you been following the competition since it started?
Yes, I have been following it a little bit.
Okay.
I'm waiting if we get to the quarterfinals and the finals when it gets super exciting.
I know, right?
But even now, it's been interesting, hasn't it? Look at what happened to Ebri girls yesterday. Devastating, but yes.
It's what it is. We wish them all the best. Maybe they can do what the Asantwa girls did. Last year, there was a video that went viral of one student of the Asantwa girls, and she was crying so bad. She was so hurt that they couldn't make it. And even in that state, she said, we will come back.
We'll be back.
And they did. And you understand why they're called the Asantwa?
Yes.
All right, so we'll continue the conversation shortly. And Dr. Lucy Ejapong, like I said, is an Associate Dean of Engineering, and she'll be telling us why Academic City is a part of the NSMQ, what they have to offer the students and all that. But shortly after this, do stay. Hope you enjoyed the music while you were waiting for us to come back. Let me start with you, Dr. Lucy Ejapong. You've told us you've been following the competition. It's been exciting so far. But how long has Academic City been a part of the NSMQ?
Academic City has been part of NSMQ since 2018. When we rebranded and became the new Academic City, we knew that STEM for us is the future, is what is going to transform our nation. So it was a no-brainer for us to partner up with National Science and Maths Grades, just to advocate and for more students and for more people to see the importance of science, make science fun. And that's what NSMQ is all about.
I know Academic City has a plan to make science more interesting for young people, and there have been concerns about lack of practical studies. Just tell us what Academic City is doing in that regard.
So we've already partnered with, again, Prime Time. We did the STEM Festival where we had the Innovation Challenge, which was more a practical application of science. NSMQ, one of the things that we've discussed, and we'll see how that pans out, is to have a practical problem of the day. I think that might excite new people as well, but that requires a bit of planning around that. So we've been consulting on that. We've been talking with Prime Time and NSMQ about how do we bring that practical element, because we believe that we should be able to take the theory, the knowledge, and turn it into something that can actually make a real impact and change, our status quo.
That's interesting. So different sponsors offer different packages to contestants, but there's a presidential scholarship for engineering that's been offered. Tell us what will make a contestant qualify for that.
So at the moment, with the National Science and Maths Quiz, we award 40,000 USD worth of presidential scholarship. So that means your tuition for 4 years is covered, your accommodation is covered, food is covered. We even give you a stipend, laptops, everything. You literally come with the clothes on your back, and for 4 years you're sorted. And because we know that we want to reward people that you are doing well, and we want to give people an opportunity to transform some of the knowledge they've acquired into something practical. And the reason why we usually focus on engineering, because engineering is an application of science. Engineering is where we transform the knowledge that we've acquired from science to create something useful. And we know that if industrialization is to occur in Ghana, if we're going to move forward, then one of the good ways to do that is through engineering. So we give this full presidential scholarship to one of the finalists. It's usually you have to get to the finals, and sometimes you have to be in the winning team to be qualified for that. And then we give them that opportunity to transform and get world-class education at an institution in Ghana that is looking to change Africa.
Okay, and this has to be Academic City, definitely.
Academic City University College.
Great. Okay, I'll come back to you for more, but let me speak to Samuel. I know you've been touching base with the team in Kumasi. How are the students doing? I know you offer some psychological help as well. I'm throwing this in because of the disappointments that some of the students had to endure because their schools couldn't make it through. Just tell us what the mood has been, even as we enter in day 3 of the contest.
Thank you once again. So it's been exciting, it's been fun, and it's been disappointing to some people as well, like you mentioned. Some schools, I believed, for instance, a school like Weija-Gbawe, they believed they had prepared themselves very well to move to the next stage of the competition, but unfortunately they lost to Yasantua, who also knew what they were about and what to make an impact. So the head girl apparently wasn't evident. She was all tears, but believed that they will bounce back again. So it's been quite fun and exciting, but then the disappointments are there. But like you indicated earlier, we have a team of psychologists who we work with, who normally before, during and after the contest, they have some sessions with the students just to let them know that, look, it is not the end of the world. Whatever it is, this is more like a platform to help you to achieve greater heights in the future. So all of these things are covered, and for us to have a beautiful, exciting moments in Kumasi.
So, look, you just see this on television and you see the students and you think, oh, it just happened with the snap of a finger. No, it didn't. There's a lot of work that goes into preparing them, helping them, ensuring that this makes them into the people, or transforms them into the people that we want to see them become. And thanks to sponsors like Academic City for helping the young ones and deciding to support the NSMQ. So what are your expectations? I know your school is competing. My school is not, unfortunately, but Wesley Girls Senior High School.
Yes.
Thankfully, I didn't wear something curry or yellow.
Yeah, no, you'd have got the colors. We're close, we're close.
But what are your expectations?
My expectations this year, I'm hoping that all the schools do well, particularly my school, but I'm also looking for an upset. It's always very interesting when there's an underdog, a school no one is expecting, like last year when we had Katasco, and they did amazingly well. And I think that encourages a lot of other schools to say that, you know what, we can do it also, and bring a sense of unity. So I'm looking forward to more challenges. I'm looking for more girl representation, because I know that we can do it, and we can show the boys that we're better, if not the same. So I'm looking forward to the excitement of it all. I'm looking for Presec wanting to come back and, take the crown again, with it being Kumasi. I'm looking forward to what Prempe has to offer. Can they retain it? And I want an upset. one of the girls' schools should take it.
Yeah, we've been rooting for the girls' school.
We have.
And just to clarify, except thankfully I'm not wearing carry because my school will come after me. I was looking like a Wesley Girls' old student here. But besides engineering,
yes,
what else does the academic city offer that fits into the STEM world?
So when you look at Academic City, we like to pride ourselves as a STEAM-focused institution. So it's all about science, it's all about technology, engineering, arts, and maths, and how you fuse all of those together. We're very, very big on technology because we know that the future of jobs today and tomorrow look nothing like the jobs of yesteryear. So how do we use the sciences and how do we transform them to make it something useful? So we even introduce courses like robotics engineering, we're doing artificial intelligence, we're doing biomedical with an artificial intelligence twist. Even our communication arts department have technology infused within that. Everybody's learning programming, everybody's learning technology and society and how it impacts the society because we think it's critical. But more importantly, the way we teach at Academic City is all about how do we make global principles or global knowledge, like what is shown in National Science and Maths quiz, how do we change it so that it's applicable to your local community, to your region that you live in, to the continent that you live in, and how do we use it to transform change? And that's what we're all about. So our students are constantly coming up with projects to do that.
Right, I like the bit of making it relevant because it's important. What's the point of studying and you can't impact your country or community that you live in? Well, we'll quickly be crossing over to Kumasi, but what are your expectations for today, Samuel?
Well, I want to see more surprises. That brings the fun and exciting moments in them. So I should think that something great is going to happen. There's going to be a tsunami some way, somehow happening today.
Right, so we'll see. Maxwell will be telling us the schools that are competing. And for Academic City, let me just throw this in. Do you offer only undergrad courses? So?
At the moment, we only offer undergrad courses. So that is across business administration. So we do all the HR, marketing, advertising, PR. We also offer communication arts, journalism, communication, and APR. Our core engineering programs, which is the exciting one for me because I'm an engineer, is the mechanical, industrial and systems, robotics, electrical and electronics, so many exciting stuff. So we will offer the full spectrum, but one thing you will get at Academic City is that you will apply some level of science irrespective of what course you're studying. You will do some form of STEM, even if it's arts.
Yeah. That reminds me of a shocker some of my colleagues and I received when we went to the Ghana Institute of Journalism. We thought we were running away from everything math related. Yes. only to be shown a statistic course and we were all like, oh no. But you can't run away. That's it. That's the world we live in now. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us this morning. Dr. Lucy Japong is Associate Dean of Engineering at Academic City University College. And you know our very own Samuel Natiato, Associate Client Service Director, Primetime Limited. Thank you for joining us once again. And you said that scholarship is 40,000?
40,000 US.
40,000 US dollars.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So let's see how this will motivate young people who are competing in this year's National Science and Maths quiz. And who knows, it may increase. So if you're a student watching us, just get on board. NSMQ will give you an easy route to Academic City. You know what I mean. But let's cross over now to Maxwell Agbagba, who's joining us from Kumasi. Hello, Maxwell. How are you doing? Let us know what competitions are happening today and what to look out for.
Yes, Benes, we're doing good, and we're coming to you live from the Kumasi Auditorium. In fact, we're standing very close to the Kumasi Auditorium here at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'll be telling you the contest that will be coming up later today shortly, but just to give our audience an idea of what happened yesterday. Edu JMF Senior High School here at the Kumasi Auditorium won their contest against Ebri Girls and then Seshiwi also Senior High School. Edu JMF Senior High School had 41 points, Ebri Girls had 24 points, Seshiwi also had 10 points. I have with me here Bright Kweku and then Dr. Urija. You want to introduce yourself for us?
Dr. Ozemenza Urija.
2015 contestants of Binkum.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us, in 30 seconds, what do you make of that contest? Edu JMF win in that contest?
I think Edu JMF came from behind to win as the Ebri Girls were leading. And we always have issues with our girls' schools and they containing pressure and all that.
Yeah.
But I think, Edu JMF did well. They are one of the the underdogs in Kumasi.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in the regional qualification contest, they won against St. Monica's Comfort. Noche Senior High School was also in there. And then is it Achene Senior High School?
Yeah,
they were also in that particular contest. I think they were in the 40s. Ebri girls in the regional qualification contest won against Manfi girls. There was another school also in there. They had about 40 points. So many actually thought that it was going to go their way, you know, in that. I'm sure that was the same.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Even yesterday when I was speaking to you, I told you I wanted the Ebri girls to win. I was rooting for them, but unfortunately, I think during the first three rounds, they led throughout. But when Edu Jenfi caught up with them at the third stage, I think there was a bit of G2 over there. And then during the fourth round, that was when everything just went
the downward spiral.
Yeah. The two of us, they just couldn't answer. They were just getting, and then Edu Jenfi managed to get all of them, and then that was it.
We're talking to the contestants from Edu Jenfi Senior High School shortly, but let's go to the second contest. Bishop Herman College won with 50 points. SDA SHS Bekwai won second with 48 points. Salaga Senior High School 20 points. Bishop Herman College came into this contest as the reigning champions of the Volta Uchi regions. Indeed, I saw them in the Volta region where they beat Mauli School back to back in their own backyard. So really, I didn't expect SDA, SHS Bekwai to give them a good run for their money like we saw. But everything turned in their favor in round 5. Were you surprised?
Oh, I wasn't really surprised, but then I was thinking Bekwai will put up a very good show because in Kumasi, in Ashanti region, the schools are very enthusiastic when it comes to the NSMQ.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't underestimate any small school coming from Ashanti region because they will pull out a shocker. And also the true or false, it was trouble when you go to the true or false because I think they had almost everything wrong.
Yeah, that's for Bishop Herman College.
Yes. Yeah. And they ended up with a negative, and that was very, very bad.
Yeah. Another big one that happened, Yasantua Girls, and then in Kwetia Presby Senior High School, and then Kintampo Senior High School. Yasantua Girls had 38 points. The second school in Kwetia Presby Senior High School had 35 points. Kintampo SHS had 8 points. Yasantua Girls went through by just 3 points. Yeah. And in fact, it reminds us of 2021 when their head girl cried and said they are going to be back. Yeah. And indeed, they did it yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday they did it. For a fact that during the first round of the competition, they gave, I think, a 9-point gap. Yeah. But unfortunately, getting to, I think, the fourth round, Nkwetia kind of came closer. So there was just a point between them at the fourth round. Yeah. So I was even thinking, oh, it's time to see another girls' school crying again. And then in the riddles, they managed to take some 2 riddles, and then they won the contest.
Let's put it on record. They're the first girls' school, to make it to the 1/8 stage of the competition. We have some few minutes to wrap up with this. Emmanuel, you want to run us through the contest that we have for today? Yeah. Okay.
So for Sarah Mensah today we have Kumasi High School, but unfortunately TMS couldn't join for some reasons, so they'll be making a substitute.
They had to withdraw because they said they didn't have enough time to prepare. Yeah. But there's a school that is replacing them in that contest.
Yeah. So the Kumasi High will come against Samuel Otu, and this morning too, we have here at Kumasi, we have Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Kumasi Wesley Girls and Zion College, and at the K University Auditorium we have Shama. And then we should remind ourselves that Shama is currently the Western Zonal champions. Yeah. Again, they will come up against Notre Dame Girls and also They
beat Archbishop Potter Girls. They beat Ghana Secondary Technical School. I was in the Western region with them, and I was like, what is happening here?
Quite interesting over there. I think they beat Ghana Technical School, Secondary Technical by 18 points margin. Quite interesting. So I'm sure there will be a force to reckon with.
So there's a lot happening here today. There's a lot to look forward to here. We're happy. Some of the seeded schools have started arriving. Presec Legon. Yeah, they are in town. They are in Kumasi. They are in Kumasi. They are in Kumasi right now. But let's speak to the gentleman from Wesley Senior High School. They beat Ebri Girls. They beat Ebri Girls yesterday. No. So they were tied with St. Francis Xavier at 40 points yesterday. It was a tiebreaker question that separated them from the winners, St. Francis Xavier. And the good thing about this is that this is just the third batch of science students who are representing the school, at the National Science and Maths Quiz. And they did it against this very strong school, formidable school like St. Francis Xavier. Wesley Senior High School, right? Yes, sir. Tell me, how excited are you guys? 40 points. You lost with 40 points. That's very huge. There's a possibility that you're going to go through.
Yeah, we are very excited and very grateful because it's by grace and by God. And for all this, I thank my boys and myself sake of it's true determination.
Okay.
Yeah, because back when we throw our eyes back to our school, we have nothing. Okay. Yeah, we have nothing, and it's by our own determination and what we are looking forward to do. Yeah. That's what happened yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. So in 30 seconds, what should we look up for in the subsequent contests?
You guys will watch out for more, because even though we don't have the materials needed for us to compete with the big schools, but through determination and some of the commitment of our teachers, we know by the grace of God we are going to make it through to the 1/8 stage, and probably we'll get to the quarterfinals and we'll seed our school. Yeah. And so
I love that. Vim Yazo, I love that. 30 seconds.
Okay, so expect nothing but expect the best from us. Okay. Expect the best from you boys. Okay. We have something to show to the world, so expect us.
Thank you very much. So you have the contestants from Wesley Senior High School, Bekwai. It was just a tiebreaker question that separated them from St. Francis Xavier yesterday. There's a high possibility that they're going to go through to the 1/8 stage, although they lost. So that's what's happening here at the Kumasi Auditorium. The first contest is taking place. We're running in there to bring you updates on our subsequent bulletin. So over to you, Benis.
Right, Maxwell, thank you so much. And that's Maxwell Agbagba joining us from the Ashanti region capital, Kumasi, where he will be stationed, bringing us updates on the prelims of the National Science and Maths Quiz. The 2022 National Science and Maths Quiz is produced by Primetime Limited and sponsored by the Ghana Education Service in partnership with APSA Ghana. It's supported by Goyle, Prudential Life Insurance, Airtel, Tigo, Dano Milk, Newmont, Accra College of Medicine, Academic City University College, and YFM. The broadcast of the NSMQ on JoyNews is supported by Virtual InfoSec Africa, Virtual Security Africa, Vitamilk, Cowbell, Alumni by Enterprise Life, Faytex Toilet Roll, Ace Medical Insurance, Azar Group, Kings Group Limited, Family Health Medical School, DBS, Koba, Alumitrust from Pharma Trust. You want to stay with us for all the details on this year's National Science and Maths Quiz. And that's how we end today's edition of the AM show. Thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate your company every morning from 6 through to 9. Benjamin and I always here to discuss what matters most to you. God willing, tomorrow morning we are back again with another exciting edition. Do stay tuned in. News Desk is up next.